Chapter 18. Ka. After the steel sword was infused with the power of the martial spirit, it seemed to become a divine weapon. After a flash of light, the green vine demon immediately let out a violent howl and slowly collapsed. Lin Muyu stood on its head, and very quickly, the green spirit of the wild beast formed a circle above the green vine demon's head. Now, Chu Chu whispered, sit down and use your green gourd to absorb the vine monster's beast spirit. Not only will it increase the power of your martial spirit, it will also increase your own strength. Your body has just entered the chaotic stage, so there is no clear standard for your strength. But after the first evolution of your martial spirit, your strength will be determined. Lin Muyu was overjoyed. She immediately sat next to the vine monster's corpse and summoned her green gourd. The moment her martial spirit touched the vine monster's beast spirit, she didn't even need to guide it. The green gourd began to crazily devour the vine monster's beast spirit. Since they were both plants, the green gourd seemed to be more compatible with the vine monster. The green gourd's light became brighter and brighter. At the same time, Lin Muyu felt that the strength of her Zhenqi was increasing. The vine monster had brought great benefits to her. At the side, Chu Chu smiled and said, if this kid is lucky enough, he might be able to comprehend the beast spirit's main body's special skill. Tang Xiaoxi blinked her eyes and said, but Grandpa told me that the probability of learning the special skill of the beast spirit is less than 20%. My fire fox has evolved twice, but it only learned the fire wolf's flame. Chu Chu said, this is all up to fate. My fire cauldron has a total of 9 layers and evolved 9 times, but it only has 3 skills. It all depends on this kid's luck. Lin Muyu was refining the beast spirit, but she could still hear their conversation. At this moment, a voice suddenly appeared in her mind. It was the elven female official Lulu. She had woken up again. This was the perfect time. She appeared in front of Lin Muyu and stretched her body. She smiled and said, I slept so much, Lulu. Lin Muyu was overjoyed. I'm refining the beast soul. Help me open the cauldron. Hurry. Yes. When Lulu opened the cauldron, a bright light enveloped Lin Muyu. Chu Chu and Tang Xiaoxi could no longer see what Lin Muyu was doing. They only knew that he was absorbing the spirit of the wild beasts. However, in front of Lin Muyu, there was a cauldron floating in the air. The green gourd was spinning rapidly in the cauldron. As an elf officer, Lulu seemed to be able to see through everything. She smiled and said, the skill contained in this spirit of the beast is entanglement of roots. It can provide the effect of gourd vine entanglement, but it needs some materials to make a weapon. What materials do you need? 1 liter of water, 2 gold coins, and some soil to nourish the gourd vines. That's easy. Lin Muyu couldn't help but chuckle. There was water in the puddle nearby. Gold coins and soil were everywhere. He took some water and dug some soil to fill the cauldron. Then he took out 2 gold coins and threw them into the cauldron. Immediately, Lulu closed her eyes and a satisfied smile appeared on her pretty face. As the items were mixed together, the cauldron shone even brighter. In an instant, all the gold coins were refined and turned into golden powder that seeped into the green gourd martial spirit. The water and soil were naturally absorbed by the green gourd martial spirit. This process lasted for about 10 minutes. It was a success. Buzz. The green gourd martial spirit trembled violently. Green vines extended from the top of the gourd. It was a very rural scene. Chu Chu and Tang Xiaoxi were stunned. This idiot Mu really awakened his martial spirit skill. Tang Xiaoxi murmured to herself. Chu Chu laughed. This kid fortune favors fools. Lin Muyu thought to himself, I'm not a fool, I'm a grandmaster blacksmith. Lin Muyu was able to refine the wild beast spirit of a 500-year-old green vine demon in less than 10 minutes. This was too shocking. However, Lin Muyu stood up in high spirits. Her aura seemed to have undergone a huge change. Chu Chu smiled and said, Kid, why don't you show me your martial soul's skill? Yes, Chu. With a thought, the green gourd martial spirit appeared in front of her chest. Shwa shwa shwa. Vines wrapped around a small tree, immobilizing it. When Lin Muyu exerted his strength, the small tree was snapped in half. Wow, this is fun. Tang Xiaoxi laughed. Mu's martial spirit skill is so interesting. Princess, you're flattering me. Lin Muyu was a little embarrassed. Tang Xiaoxi immediately broke his pretense. I'm not flattering you, I just think it's very interesting. This kind of childish skill is useless in a real battle. Lin Muyu was speechless. It's better than nothing. Chu Chu comforted her. Lin Muyu nodded in relief. Alright, let's use the testing crystal to see your current strength. The testing crystal was in the bag on the back of the horse. After taking it out, Lin Muyu covered it with her palm, shouted in a low voice, and exerted all her strength. Suddenly, her martial spirit shone brightly, and the strength reading in the testing crystal increased rapidly, jumping continuously. Finally, there was a long line and 7 short lines. Chu Chu smiled slightly. Level 17 warrior, not bad. Anyway, you've stepped into the second layer of the human realm. If you practice for a few days, there's still hope for you to defeat Huawan. Well, thank you, Chu. At night, the heavy rain finally stopped, and the entire 7-star forest was muddy. It was impossible for people to live in this kind of deep mountain, and hunters didn't dare to live in the depths of the 7-star forest. After all, no one wanted to wake up in the middle of the night and be bitten off by a 1,000-year-old spirit beast. Therefore, Chu Chu, Lin Muyu, and Tang Xiaoxi could only camp in the mountain for a night. After finding some dry wood, they rested in a small kernel. Tang Xiaoxi ignited the wood with her Firefox martial spirit, baked buns, and had dinner. Then, under the light of the fire, Tang Xiaoxi sat cross-legged and practiced. Her whole body was emitting a faint flame aura. This girl practiced the law of fire, and her figure was indeed very hot. After practicing for a while, Lin Muyu's genuine qi could already pass through her meridians without any obstruction. The legend of the heaven's disabled body had been broken, but the strength of her genuine qi couldn't be increased rapidly. She had to give up. She stood up and took out the flying daggers given by Chu Chu from the bag. It was time to practice this flying dagger technique. The longbow was not a hidden weapon, and it was not convenient to carry around, let alone attack when the enemy was unprepared. For fear of hurting Tang Xiaoxi, he went to the hillside and observed the 4 flying daggers in the moonlight. They were unique and exquisite, shining brightly under the moonlight. Throw. Shwa. The cold light flew far away, emitting a shrill sound in the wind. In the blink of an eye, it returned, but Lin Muyu didn't catch it. He didn't want to die yet. Pa. The flying dagger pierced into the tree trunk at the side. He pulled it out and threw it again. Then he dodged it again, and observed it over and over again. Just like that, he threw for more than an hour. In the darkness, a figure observed him for a long time, and finally couldn't help but ask, "Why don't you try catching it?" Lin Muyu turned around and smiled. "Oh, it's Chu Chu. It's not that I don't want to catch it, but I need more experience and observation to understand the trajectory of the flying dagger under different strength and angles. Otherwise, I'm afraid both of my hands would be ruined." Chu Chu couldn't help but laugh. "What a smart boy. I really didn't misjudge you. In your hands, this flying knife will definitely be able to display its full potential. However, you've been observing for too long. Try to catch it. As a martial artist, it's almost impossible to cultivate a secret art without suffering some injuries." However, this was too much of a test of eyesight, especially under the moonlight. But Lin Muyu still started to try without hesitation. He suddenly threw the flying dagger, and quickly judged the angle of its rotation, as well as the rotation trajectory of the handle and the blade. He wanted to catch the handle, not the blade. Pa. He suddenly made his move, but his fingers didn't completely touch the handle. Instead, they were swept by the blade before he could grab the handle. Suddenly, he felt a burning pain, and blood flowed out. His index finger was cut open. Fortunately, you are an alchemist. You have all kinds of medicine for wounds. Chu Chu laughed, taking pleasure in Xiao Chen's misfortune. Lin Muyu didn't have the mood to bother with this inhumane teacher. He took out some medicine and applied it on his finger. Then he tried a dozen more times. When he didn't catch it the second time, he quickly dodged it. He could catch the rest, and he had already mastered the technique of catching knives. The next step was to judge the trajectory of the flying dagger after it hit the target, which was even more difficult. When it was late at night, Lin Muyu's left and right hands were already full of wounds. Luckily, He had a sense of propriety and didn't injure his muscles or bones. Otherwise, it would definitely affect his cultivation. Even so, he had almost used up all the medicine. Luckily, he was an alchemist and could concoct medicine on the spot. He looked around and found some silver threadgrass and long night flower. They were common herbs, so he picked some. Then he found an iron pear flower. Hua! He opened his hand and the essence condensing hand appeared. He started to extract the energy from the iron pear flower. Chu leaned against the stone wall, pretending to take a nap. However, he was secretly watching Lin Muyu as she refined the medicine. Just as Lin Muyu was adding the iron pear flower's medicinal essence powder into the gold sore medicine, Chu finally could not hold it in any longer. He leaped forward and raised his eyebrows as he asked, "Brat, according to the medicinal encyclopedia, the gold sore medicine only requires silver thread grass and long night flower. Why did you add the iron pear flower?" Lin Muyu smiled and said confidently, "Although the iron pear flower's energy powder can't cure injuries, it can speed up the healing process. Furthermore, the silver thread grass and long night flower are both warm, while the iron pear flower is cold. After neutralizing the cold, the medicinal effect will be even better." Chu's eyes widened. You're not lying to me, right? Why would I lie to you? The medicine I concoct is definitely a first-grade medicine. Do you believe me? Chu sniffed the bottle of medicine he had just concocted. His face turned ashen. It really is a first-grade medicine. Lin Muyu continued to concoct the medicine. She took out some swift wolf's blood and softened the energy of the blue-silver grass. Finally, she took out an apple from her bag, crushed it, and soaked it in apple juice. Chu was dumbfounded again. Why did you add apple juice? Lin Muyu smiled. The swift wolf's blood is very violent and aggressive. Adding a little apple juice can soften its aggressive nature, making the medicine more effective. Also what? The Saint Realm expert's eyes widened like copper bells. Lin Muyu smiled. Also, the medicine made with apple juice is very tasty. Very, very tasty. Chu's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. His knowledge in the alchemy world was instantly subverted by this young man in front of him. Chu was an expert in martial arts all his life, but he was a rookie in alchemy. So much so that after meeting a grandmaster alchemist like Lin Muyu, he didn't feel like he had ever learned alchemy. Chapter 19. Chu squatted on the ground and watched Lin Muyu refine medicine like a studious child. When he saw how Lin Muyu skillfully peeled off the iron and stone layers of the iron pear flower with the essence condensing hands, he almost gasped in amazement. He had seen many experts in his life, but he had never seen an alchemist who could refine medicine with such an exquisite technique. Even the alchemy king-level alchemists he had seen before didn't have such a miraculous technique. Looking at the restless Chu, Lin Muyu couldn't help but snicker inwardly. Chu was an expert who had stepped into the Saint Realm, and his status on the continent was obvious. But everyone had a weakness, and Chu's weakness was his love for alchemy. So Lin Muyu smiled and said, "This technique is called the essence condensing hands. What do you think? Do you want to learn it?" Chu immediately nodded repeatedly. "Yes." "All right, I'll teach you." Lin Muyu clapped her hands happily and said, "But there's a condition." Chu immediately raised an eyebrow. "Kid, what do you want? Just say it. As long as you're willing to teach me alchemy, I'll do anything." Lin Muyu had already made up her mind and said slowly, "I'll teach you the essence condensing hands, but you must teach me your best battle technique. What do you think?" "Teach you battle techniques?" "Yes." Lin Muyu scratched her head. Kathaya City's bookstores also sell battle techniques, but they're too expensive. It's also very expensive to learn from a master, and I don't have that much money. If I cultivate with you, you'll only teach me how to summon my martial spirit, but not any real battle techniques. As you can see, the green gourd is suited for defense, but not offense, so I want to learn offensive techniques. Chu sighed and looked deeply at Lin Muyu. "But I swore a long time ago that I would never accept a disciple in this life. Otherwise, I will die by the sword." Lin Muyu smiled. "I don't want to be your disciple, I just want to learn combat skills. Besides, this is a deal. I'll teach you alchemy, and you'll teach me combat skills. How about it? Then, all right. Chu really couldn't resist the temptation of the condensed essence hand, and said, but you have to promise me one thing. You can't teach the battle skills that I taught you to anyone else. I, Chu, have comprehended more than half of the martial arts in my life by myself. The world is chaotic. I don't want the battle skills that I created to become killing skills. How about it? Can you promise me that? Lin Muyu immediately nodded. I promise that I will never teach anyone else the combat skills you taught me. All right then. As he spoke, Chu leapt a few meters back and smiled. I will demonstrate 3 combat techniques. Take a look and choose one to learn. All right. Chu's eyes were calm and steady. His entire body stood on the ground with the posture of MT. Tai, as if he could shake the heavens but not the earth. He opened his left palm slightly, and with a low roar, a bolt of purple lightning suddenly condensed between his fingers. With a pung sound, a giant rock on his right was directly broken in half. This is the lightning strike. It condenses the lightning element of nature and instantly attacks the target separately. It can be used barehanded or in conjunction with a weapon. Again. Chu was calm and composed. With a slight shake of his sleeves, he let out a low roar. Immediately, the ground around him began to tremble. Fighting chi was released and layers of green rock shields appeared around him. In the blink of an eye, the shields were shattered. This is the green rock armor. It condenses fighting chi into a wall to protect oneself. It is also a combat technique that I created. It is suitable for defense. You can also condense the green rock armor with fighting chi. However, the green rock armor, created with fighting chi, is even more indestructible. Again. As he spoke, Chu let out a low roar and clenched his hand into a fist. He threw a punch at the giant tree in front of him. The air instantly fluctuated, and after a sharp whistling sound, the tree received a heavy blow. Pung! The branches of the tree shook violently, but Lin Muyu did not see any damage to the tree. She smiled and said, "It doesn't look like much." "Is that so?" Chu smiled slightly. "Take a closer look." When Lin Muyu looked again, she found that the bark of the giant tree was cracked. Even the trunk was as brittle as cotton, and fell with a loud bang. This woke Tang Xiaoxi from her sleep. She rubbed her beautiful eyes and sat up. "What happened?" Chu smiled from afar and said, "Princess, it's nothing. It's still early, you can sleep a bit more." Tang Xiaoxi was sleeping soundly, so she didn't think too much about it. She laid on her side and fell asleep again. This move is called Demon Sound Fist. It uses the pulsation of battle chi to create a strong fluctuation effect in the air, forming a sound wave to attack the opponent. If your cultivation is high enough, you can even injure the opponent's internal organs. Chu smiled proudly. "It's also a martial art that I created. How about it? Lightning Strike, Demon Sound Fist, Green Rock Armor. Which one do you choose to learn?" Demon Sound Fist. Lin Muyu did not hesitate. This move was too flashy. Chu smiled and said, "You really know your stuff. It's a pity that the Demon Sound Fist requires a lot of chi to use. As for you, you should be able to make some progress in it in about 7 or 8 years." Lin Muyu was slightly surprised. "This? Then I'd better learn Lightning Strike. If I use it with my sword, the power should not be small, right?" "That's right. I also approve of you learning Lightning Strike." Thus Chu sat cross-legged on a huge rock and began to dictate the principles of Lightning Strike. First, she must learn to meditate and feel the lightning element in the air. If she couldn't even feel the lightning element, then she would not be able to learn this move. Lin Muyu was naturally smart. After meditating for a little more than an hour, she could already feel the violent lightning element in the air. These elements were like living creatures. When Lin Muyu tried to touch them, they would move far away. Chu faintly smiled and continued to teach. One of the great mysteries of condensing the lightning element was the word absorb. You must use your own chi to attract the lightning element. During this process, Lin Muyu practiced for almost 2 hours. Finally, he learned how to release his chi to absorb the lightning element. When the lightning element between his 5 fingers was dense with crackling sounds, he was so excited that his heart almost jumped out. The last part was a relatively simple process. He had to infuse the lightning element into the blade, and then find the best angle to cut through the air. This strike had to be fast and accurate, and it could not be sloppy. When the lightning element passed through the air and formed a shock wave, this move would be considered complete. Lin Muyu pulled out the steel sword and with a low roar, the lightning element flowed from his arms into the steel sword. The edge of the sword was wrapped in lightning. Although it wasn't as strong as Chu Chu's, it still looked quite powerful. With a schwa sound, she forcefully slashed down. The friction between the lightning element and the air created a chi-chi sound. Too slow. Chu Chu wrinkled his eyebrows and said, "This sound isn't right. If your attack speed is too slow, then the destructive power will naturally decrease. The shorter the sound of the friction between the lightning element and the air, the stronger the destructive power." As he said this, he raised his arm and lightly waved it. Almost without any sound, the small tree at the side had already been cut in half. Do you see this? Only when you reach this speed can it be considered a true lightning strike. Lin Muyu originally thought that he had made some small progress. Now, compared to the power of Chu Chu's lightning strike, he simply hadn't even reached the beginner level. Therefore, Lin Muyu practiced sword after sword until she was so focused that she forgot to eat or sleep. On the other hand, Chu Chu plucked an iron pear flower and sat to the side. He slowly used the condensing essence hand to refine the medicine, but his condensing essence hand technique was too strong. It caused the outer layer of iron around the iron pear flower to crack and emit a series of explosive sounds. This meant that the refining of the medicine had failed. The iron pear flower's medicine had already been contaminated and destroyed by the impurities. Lin Muyu watched from afar and shook her head as if saying, "You can't even do such a small thing." Chu Chu lowered his head with a face full of shame. His use of true chi was far inferior to Lin Muyu's, at least when it came to the application of the condensing essence hand. Refining medicine required a moderate amount of strength. It was not good to have more or less than that. All the way until the wee hours of the morning, Lin Muyu finally couldn't take it anymore. She lay down not far from Tang Xiaoxi and slept for a while. However, she didn't sleep for more than 3 hours before she was woken up by Chu Chu. Chu Chu seemed to be a person who never needed sleep. He didn't sleep for the whole night, but instead seemed to be full of energy. He held up a pile of medicine and asked Lin Muyu, "Look, how is the purity of these medicine?" Lin Muyu only glanced at it and said, "It's much better than last night. With more practice, the condensing essence hand can be considered a success." "That's right, how's your lightning strike practice going?" Chu Chu asked with a smile. Lin Muyu didn't say anything. The moment she raised her hand to pull out the longsword, the lightning element had already appeared on the blade. With a kacha sound, the blade cut through the air, splitting a stone the size of a bowl into two. The cut was very neat. Chu Chu nodded and smiled. "It's not bad. It's slightly powerful now. With more practice, it'll naturally become even more powerful." Tang Xiaoxi, on the other hand, was so shocked that her small mouth gaped open. Mu is actually this powerful. After hastily eating breakfast, they continued to advance into the depths of the Seven Stars Forest. They only had one goal, and that was to find a fire element spirit beast. Moreover, it had to be above 2,000 years old. Using this kind of spirit beast as an offering for Tang Xiaoxi to reach level 30 and enter the Earth realm would be enough. Unfortunately, the heavens didn't seem to want them to meet a suitable spirit beast too early. In the morning, they saw 3 spirit beasts. A 1,200-year-old green python scared Tang Xiaoxi so much that she cried out. A 240-year-old mountain cat, but unfortunately, it was of the wood element. The only fire element spirit beast was a fierce bear, but it only had 700 years of cultivation, so they could only let it go. "Chew, I heard that old spirit beasts can produce spirit stones, and spirit stones can be sold for money. With your cultivation, you can easily kill these spirit beasts. Why are you avoiding them one by one?" Lin Muyu asked. Chu Chu sat on his horse and said leisurely, "All living beings have intelligence, and they are also living beings. They have the same right to live as us. Unless it's absolutely necessary, I won't kill spirit beasts for spirit stones. Besides, Jinxiong coins are just a common thing." Chapter 20. Lin Muyu was secretly speechless. Chu Chu's cultivation was indeed not something she could compare with. He seemed more like an otherworldly expert. Perhaps all experts who had stepped into the Saint Realm would be like this? Who knew? In any case, the strongest person Lin Muyu had seen was this level 94 Saint Realm expert in front of her. The second strongest person was Eagle Eye, who was killed by her with a single slash. It was a pity that Eagle Eye treated human life like grass. Compared to Chu Chu, he was simply an unforgivable villain. In the afternoon, they had officially entered the true depths of the Seven Stars Forest. All kinds of spirit beasts ran amok, and many of them were ferocious beasts that killed people. Fortunately, Chu Chu's cultivation was extremely high. He brought the two young people along and avoided the foraging routes of the spirit beasts, so they were safe. When it was close to evening, they finally came to a wasteland. Immediately, Chu Chu became excited and said with a smile, "Princess Shi, your beast spirit is not far away." Oh. Tang Xiaoxi's beautiful face was filled with confusion. Chu Chu explained, "It's obviously autumn now, but the grass in this wasteland has already withered. This is a sign of winter. This can only mean that the grass has been roasted. There must be a fire attribute spirit beast living in this area. Furthermore, to be able to affect the environment to such an extent, the beast spirit must be at least 2,000 years old." Tang Xiaoxi said happily, "All right, let's hurry over." Chu Chu urged the horse forward, and Lin Muyu and Tang Xiaoxi also followed. As they got closer, even the wind that blew against their faces had a scorching feeling. Further ahead, the small forest was already barren, and only a few withered trees were left. Chu Chu dismounted, plucked a branch, and slowly crushed it, saying, "This tree has been withered for more than 3 years. This evil beast must have been here for more than 3 years, so it is quite familiar with the terrain and smell here. Be careful, we might have encountered an extremely strong spirit beast. If the beast spirit is more than 10,000 years old, the two of you should quickly run." "Run?" Lin Muyu asked cautiously. "Could it be that Chu can't defeat a 10,000 years old spirit beast?" Tang Xiaoxi giggled. "Silly Mu, Chu is a level 94 holy venerable, and a 10,000 years old spirit beast should have the strength of a holy venerable. If this spirit beast is more than 30,000 years old, then it should have the strength of a level 100 holy king. We don't even have to run anymore." Chu Chu looked back at Lin Muyu and smiled. "Hey, are you scared yet?" Lin Muyu sat lazily on the horse. "It's all right, a princess and a holy venerable will be eaten with me. As a level 17 trash, it's not a loss." Tang Xiaoxi glared at him and chuckled. "You're quite optimistic." Chu Chu smiled subconsciously. He could not see the arrogance and hatred of young people in Lin Muyu, but he saw more gentleness and motivation. This was also one of the reasons why Chu Chu admired Lin Muyu. Perhaps it was because this kid's alchemy skills were really good? Not long ago, Chu Chu tied his horse to a withered tree at the side and carefully pulled out the sword on his waist. It was a red long sword, which was quite similar to his personality. Although Chu Chu had entered the Saint Realm, he still had a fiery temper. Moreover, his martial soul was the fire cauldron, so he was born with the fire attribute. This was also the reason why Tang Xiaoxi's grandfather asked Tang Xiaoxi to follow Chu Chu to train. The three of them slowly came to the foot of a mountain and found a big hole between the rocks. The surrounding rocks were even burnt black. Chu Chu bent down and used his hand to smear the soil on the ground. He sniffed it and said, "The last time it passed by here was about 2 days and 2 nights ago. Could it be in its nest?" Tang Xiaoxi asked. "Chu, do you know what kind of beast is in this hole?" Chu Chu looked at the trail of flames on the ground and said, "It's a crawling creature, but it seems like a part of its body is moving along the ground, like a snake. What is this?" Saying so, Chu Chu looked at Lin Muyu and Tang Xiaoxi and said, "You two wait for me outside. Don't go in with me. This beast seems to be in a deep sleep, and it's definitely a beast spirit over 5,000 years old. With your strength, you won't be able to help much." Lin Muyu nodded, and Tang Xiaoxi didn't act willfully either. She stood guard outside with Chu Chu. Chu Chu held his sword and entered the cave alone. After waiting for a full 5 minutes, there was no movement at all. Tang Xiaoxi pouted and said, Grandpa Choo Choo couldn't have been eaten by a spirit beast, right? It's been so long. Lin Muyu couldn't help but laugh. It shouldn't be, he's a holy venerable. Just as she finished speaking, a violent tremor came from inside the cave. Then they heard Choo Choo's voice coming from inside the cave. Run, it's a 9,000-year-old fire flood dragon. Fire flood dragon? Tang Xiaoxi's mouth was wide open. She didn't understand. She had never heard of a spirit beast like the fire flood dragon. Lin Muyu knew it wasn't as simple as it seemed. She quickly grabbed Tang Xiaoxi's hand and used falling star steps to rush to the side of the stone hill. There was a burning sensation behind them. Roar. With a deafening roar, a giant creature chased after Choo Choo out of the cave. It was indeed a fire flood dragon. It was a creature with the head of a horse and the body of a snake. It had 5 claws, but its body moved on the ground. Its body was covered in thick scales, but these scales were wrapped in raging flames. With a roar, it spat out a mouthful of flames at Choo Choo. Damn, a fire flood dragon. Lin Muyu was secretly shocked. A 9,000-year-old fire flood dragon was around level 87. It was a bit weaker than Choo Choo, but not by much. Moreover, it was a spirit beast that had cultivated for close to 10,000 years. Its bestial nature was enough to close the gap. Choo Choo didn't dare to be careless. He suddenly stopped and with his sword in hand, he let out a low roar. The fire cauldron came out of his body and condensed into a giant shield in front of him. This was his martial soul's ability. Flames shot out, and the surrounding grass was quickly ignited. This place was about to become a sea of fire. The fire flood dragon roared and suddenly pounced forward, crazily swinging its claws at the fire cauldron. Pung pung pung. After a series of attacks, Choo Choo found it extremely difficult to defend. His face began to pale and cold sweat dripped down. He clenched his teeth and decided to go all out. Pung. Lightning appeared on the blade of his sword. With a low roar, Choo Choo activated the cyan rock armor. His figure flashed past the fire flood dragon's chest like lightning. Gotcha! It was the lightning strike. The fire flood dragon's front leg was immediately cut off. The lightning strike separation ability was very powerful. At this time, Choo Choo used the lightning strike to show Lin Muyu how powerful this simple move could be. Lin Muyu was naturally dumbstruck. She understood the strength of a 9,000-year-old spirit beast. The scales of the fire flood dragon were extremely hard, but Choo Choo had actually cut off one of its legs with a single slash. Oh! Under the pain, the fire flood dragon could no longer stand straight. It opened its jaws and bit down on Choo Choo. Choo Choo's aura sword. With a loud roar, the fire cauldron suddenly expanded and began to spin rapidly. With a pung sound, the fire flood dragon's head was blown away. Then, Choo Choo's left fist slashed out, sending out a demon sound fist. Pung. The fire flood dragon fell to the ground with an anguished howl. But it still didn't die. Its giant tail swept out like a sharp whip. Choo Choo raised his right arm, and the fire cauldron emerged from his body again. He used the walls of the cauldron to block the fire flood dragon's attack. With a loud explosion, cracks appeared on the fire cauldron, but the fire flood dragon was in an even worse state. Its entire tail was a bloody mess. Woo! Choo Choo gave a pitiful cough. His martial spirit and body were one, so if the fire cauldron was injured, it was the same as him being injured. Blood dripped down from the corners of his mouth. In order to kill this fire flood dragon, he had also taken quite a bit of damage. The fire flood dragon roared. Its powerful vitality allowed it to continue raising its sharp claws and pouncing towards Choo Choo. Choo Choo retreated again and again. He wanted to use the demon sound fist to attack this wild beast's vitals. Otherwise, even if he killed the fire flood dragon, he would only have half a life left. At this time, Lin Muyu couldn't stand it anymore. With a low shout, the azure gourd emerged from her body. With a thought, the azure gourd martial spirit flew out. Gourd vines broke out from the ground. This was the twisting root skill. With a rustling sound, the vines wrapped around the fire flood dragon's injured leg. However, the fire flood dragon was too strong. With a roar, it struggled to break the gourd vines. Woo! Lin Muyu felt pain all over her body. Her martial spirit had been injured. Although the gourd vines were very tough, They were nothing compared to the strength of a 9,000-year-old spirit beast. However, this bought Choo Choo a few seconds. When the fire flood dragon turned around, Choo Choo had already exploded with a demon sound fist. A sharp whistling sound came from the air. With a loud pung, the fire flood dragon's eyeball was directly blasted open. Choo Choo was in for a penny and for a pound and for a pound. He lifted his sword and flashed like lightning, sending out 3 lightning strikes in a row. Ka ka ka. Flesh and blood splattered everywhere. In the next moment, the fire flood dragon's giant head flew to the ground. Blood spurted everywhere. This 9,000-year-old spirit beast was killed just like that. Great. Tang Xiaoxi cheered with a smile. Choo Choo wiped the sweat off his forehead and nodded towards Lin Muyu. He then said, Princess Shi, hurry up and absorb the fire flood dragon's beast spirit. Stop when you've absorbed enough. Otherwise, your body won't be able to bear it. And Tang Xiaoxi nodded. She sat cross-legged beside the fire flood dragon's corpse and released her fire fox martial soul. The fire fox squeaked loudly and greedily absorbed the fire flood dragon's spirit energy. Balls of flames enshrouded Tang Xiaoxi and the fire fox, making it almost impossible to see them clearly. This process lasted for nearly an hour. Suddenly, Tang Xiaoxi let out a miserable cry and fainted on the ground. Wisps of flames flew out from her mouth. What's wrong? Lin Muyu was greatly alarmed. Choo Choo's face was even paler and his entire body was trembling. What would happen if something happened to Tang Xiaoxi? She was Duke Songlan's only granddaughter, the true pearl of his palm. If something happened to her, his life would be in danger. The fire flood dragon's beast soul is too strong. Xiaoxi has absorbed too much of it, and her body can't take it anymore. She needs to cool down with cold water. Quick! Choo Choo suddenly lay on the ground and listened to the pulse of the earth. He then flipped himself up and said, Lin Muyu, use your footwork to carry Princess Shi 5 miles south. There's a lake there. Quick! Lin Muyu hurriedly bent down and carried Tang Xiaoxi. However, the moment she carried her, she felt as if she was hugging a piece of burning charcoal. Use your martial soul to resist the heat. Let's go. Lin Muyu hurriedly summoned the green gourd. As expected, the small gourd could reduce a lot of the heat. However, it was still very unbearable. She activated the star steps and dashed towards the lake in the south. Choo Choo's running speed was slightly slower. He shouted, When we reach the lake, carry her and jump into the lake. Take off her clothes. Quick, don't hesitate. Lin Muyu's mind went blank. Did such a good thing happen to her today? However, she didn't have time to think about it. Tang Xiaoxi's life was at stake. No matter what would happen between them in the future, the most important thing now was not to let her die. Soon the lake appeared in front of them. Lin Muyu leaped and fell into the lake with Tang Xiaoxi. Pfft! Like a fireball falling into the water. Tang Xiaoxi's clothes were quickly taken off. Soon, the beautiful princess appeared in Lin Muyu's arms naked. She was in extreme pain and subconsciously extended her arms to hug Lin Muyu's neck. She could feel the coldness from Lin Muyu's martial soul. That was what she needed. Water vapor rose from the surroundings, and it was almost impossible to see what was happening. At this moment, Lin Muyu was in even more pain. The beautiful princess was in her arms, and she could even feel her proud breasts pressing against her chest. The feeling was indescribable. Oh no, I've fallen. Chapter 21. The raging fire force gushed out from Tang Xiaoxi's body, and Lin Muyu could only rely on his martial soul to neutralize the force. However, the fire force of the 10,000-year fire dragon was so strong that it could not be neutralized by a mere green gourd. The fire force quickly raged in the lake, and with a sizzling sound, the lake water continuously evaporated. In the blink of an eye, the entire lake seemed to be boiling. Woo! Tang Xiaoxi woke up from her coma with a moan. But she only felt that her internal organs were burning, and every cell in her body was on fire. She did not know that the beast spirit of the fire dragon would be so violent, and she did not expect that she would not listen to Choo Choo and absorb more of it would be fatal. At this time, when she opened her eyes, she only saw Lin Muyu hugging her with his eyes closed. The front of his chest was almost burnt black, and a faint layer of light from the green gourd martial soul enveloped him. If it was not for the green gourd, he would have been burned to death. Looking down at herself, she was naked. In an instant, Tang Xiaoxi's heart trembled, and her face turned red. However, when she looked up and saw Lin Muyu closing his eyes to neutralize the force, she could not help but feel touched. Just as she was about to say something, a wave of fire force rushed to her soul, and she fainted again in Lin Muyu's arms. Unknowingly, Chu Chu had already arrived at the lakeside. Seeing the young man and woman hugging each other in the lake, he did not stop them. Instead, he sighed in his heart. This kind of fate, how can I obtain it? After a while, Chu Chu said from afar, Lin Muyu, hold on, the princess's life is already in your hands. You must hold on no matter what. This is also a kind of cultivation for you, and it can greatly enhance the strength of your martial soul. Understand? Lin Muyu did not speak, at this time. Even if he did not want to hold on, he had no choice but to hold on. He was already tied with Tang Xiaoxi. The fire flood dragon's flame force was too vicious. In the blink of an eye, it surged 7 or 8 times. Gradually, the tip of the green gourd martial soul was burnt black. The martial soul and the cultivator were one. Lin Muyu felt a sweetness in her throat, and a mouthful of blood flowed from the corner of her mouth to her chest. Her mind became blank and her spirit was about to collapse. No, I can't give up like this. He gritted his teeth. How could he give in so easily? Enduring the damage to his martial soul, he continued to extract the excess fire dragon's spiritual power for Tang Xiaoxi. Nearly 2 hours had passed, and more than half of the water in the lake had evaporated. The water in the lake could only reach the ankles of Lin Muyu and Tang Xiaoxi, but this did not stop them from releasing the fire force into the lake. Finally, Tang Xiaoxi let out a whimper and woke up once again. This time, she finally felt that the heat in her body was under control. She gently exerted her strength, and the firefox martial spirit also woke up from its deep slumber. It squeaked and lay on her shoulder. On the contrary, Lin Muyu groaned and finally couldn't support herself anymore. She knelt in the mud and spat out another mouthful of blood into the lake, dyeing the originally clear lake red. Tang Xiaoxi was embarrassed and anxious. The moment when Lin Muyu knelt down, his body almost fell along with her, and her cheeks slid down her delicate breasts. This kind of touch was something she had never experienced before. For a moment, her cheeks blushed, and she stood there staring blankly at Lin Muyu's cheeks resting on her lower abdomen. The more she looked, the redder her cheeks became. She did not know what to do and only anxiously said, "Moo, are you okay? Moo." In the distance, Chu Chu took out the luggage on the back of the horse, and with a hua sound, threw a piece of clothing over, and said loudly, "Princess, put on some clean clothes and bring Lin Muyu ashore. His martial soul is seriously injured." Tang Xiaoxi quickly put on an exquisite green cloak, and then carried Lin Muyu. She activated the power of her martial soul, and with a leap, she brought him to the dry shore. Lin Muyu was unconscious. After Tang Xiaoxi changed into a new set of clothes, she anxiously asked, "Chu, is he okay? It's all my fault. It's all my fault, otherwise he wouldn't be like this." She was so anxious that she was about to cry. Chu Chu glanced at Tang Xiaoxi, and he secretly calculated in his heart. Tang Xiaoxi's identity was simply too illustrious. She was the granddaughter of the Duke of Tsonglan, one of the 2 founding fathers of the empire, and she was fully deserving of being the apple of his eye. Logically speaking, Lin Muyu was merely a commoner, and for a commoner to die for a noble like Tang Xiaoxi, wasn't it reasonable? Right now, Tang Xiaoxi looked like she was about to cry. Could it be that she had feelings for this fellow? Chu Chu didn't dare to continue thinking about it. It wasn't a beautiful thing for a noble lady to fall in love with a poor fellow, and the ending was usually a tragedy. Chu Chu didn't wish for Lin Muyu and Tang Xiaoxi to end up like this. Rather than that, he might as well cut off their ties now. "Princess Shi," Chu Chu gently said, "we've been out for long enough, and Lin Muyu is also heavily injured. His martial soul contains a lot of the fire energy of the fire dragons, and we can't expel it. His cultivation can be considered crippled as well, so let's bring him back to Kathia City and give him some gold as compensation. What do you think?" Tang Xiaoxi was stunned, and she stared at Chu Chu in shock. Biting her red lips, She called out his name in a stern voice, Choo-choo. Princess. Choo-choo hurriedly knelt on one knee. There was a difference in status, and he understood his own identity and position. I order you, you must save Lin Muyu, or I will absolutely not return to the imperial capital with you. Yes, Choo-choo sighed inwardly, knowing that he couldn't be the bad guy who severed his ties with Lin Muyu. Fine, I'll save him then. In any case, Lin Muyu's injuries had something to do with me. Lin Muyu's green gourd only has one layer, so there's a limit to how strong it is. He's almost crippled by the flames, and even if he's saved, he can't use his martial soul anymore. There's nothing we can do unless… Choo-choo was at a loss. Tang Xiaoxi bit her red lips, and her eyes were covered with a layer of mist. Unless what? Choo-choo continued. Unless we can obtain the beast spirit of a water-type spirit beast that's at least 5,000 years old, and use water to control the fire. Only then will we be able to cure his green gourd martial soul. But water-type spirit beasts over 5,000 years old don't run around everywhere, so it's easier said than done to find them. If we were in Lanyan City, we might be able to easily find such a spirit beast in the dragon-seeking forest. But this is the Seven Stars Forest, and the types of spirit beasts here are far inferior to those in the dragon-seeking forest. Then what should we do? Tang Xiaoxi slowly knelt beside Lin Muyu's body, and she couldn't help but burst into tears as she recalled how Lin Muyu hugged her to remove the flame force desperately. At this moment, the sun was setting, and the tide of the lake was rising. Choo-choo suddenly stared at the lake in a daze. Choo, what's wrong? Tang Xiaoxi asked softly. Choo-choo clapped his hands, and said, Princess Lin Muyu can be saved. Ah! Tang Xiaoxi stood up abruptly, and her face was filled with joy. She smiled as if she had just escaped from a desperate situation, and said, Tell me, Choo, what's going on? Have you thought of a way to save him? Choo-choo nodded, and pointed at the lake that was slowly rising and said, The tide in the lake area usually won't rise so quickly, and there's a strong smell of medicine in the lake. It's the smell of the rainbow lotus. If I'm not mistaken, there's a very old giant beast living in the lake. The black tortoise. Black tortoise? Yes, the black tortoise is a magical underwater creature that can swallow clouds and spit out mist. It's said that a black tortoise over 2,000 years old has swallowed a huge amount of water and compressed it into its body. Since the tide can rise, it means that there must be something abnormal at the bottom of the lake, and there's the smell of the rainbow lotus in the lake. As far as I know, the black tortoise's favorite food is the rainbow lotus, and this smell must come from the black tortoise's feces. Since the tide is rising, the black tortoise must have discharged its feces when it was defecating. Tang Xiaoxi was flabbergasted. At this moment, Lin Muyu's body twitched slightly, and she woke up from her coma. She sniffed her nose and said, What's this smell? Is it the rainbow lotus? I haven't smelled it for a long time. Choo-choo chuckled. Kid, you're lucky. Don't move around and wait here. I'll be kind today and lure the black tortoise out for you. You and Princess Shi stay here. I'll kill this black tortoise. Lin Muyu quickly thanked him, even though she didn't know why he wanted to kill the black tortoise. In the next moment, Choo-choo activated his martial soul, and the fire cauldron came out of his body with a buzz. With a stride, it rushed into the depths of the lake, and was submerged by the lake water. After a full 10 minutes, there was still no movement. Lin Muyu stood up and circulated the true qi in her body, but she found that the true qi was flowing smoothly. However, the green gourd martial soul seemed to be heavily damaged, and her meridians were also injured. A wave of heat that could kill was rampaging in her meridians, but there seemed to be another force suppressing the spiritual power of the fire flood dragon. Otherwise, her weak body would have been burned long ago. Why is it taking so long? Tang Xiaoxi was a little anxious. Just as she finished speaking, a wave of water suddenly rushed into the sky. No, it was a water arrow. Choo-choo flew out of the water with the fire cauldron in his hand. With a loud roar, he turned around and punched the water. A giant beast chased after him from the water. It was indeed a giant tortoise, and it was an extremely ferocious giant tortoise. Its body was extremely sturdy, and the radius of its shell was at least 20 meters. As it swam, it created waves of water, and its momentum was astonishing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Tang Xiaoxi counted as she opened her small mouth and said, 6 golden tortoise shells. Wow, this is a black tortoise that's at least 6,000 years old. Mu, your luck is really good. After killing the black tortoise, you can refine its beast spirit. Lin Muyu nodded her head and said, In. Very quickly, the black tortoise was lured to the land by Chu Chu. It roared like a super tank, but the water arrow attacks were all blocked by the fire cauldron. After all, there was a great disparity in strength. In the blink of an eye, it was tortured to the point of death. In the end, it was directly killed by Chu Chu's heavenly lightning strike. Quick, Lin Muyu. Use your martial spirit to absorb this black tortoise's beast spirit. Lin Muyu used the falling star steps and rushed over. She only felt a burst of dizziness and her body was too weak. She sat down cross-legged beside the black tortoise and began to refine the black tortoise's precious beast spirit. Chapter 22. The black tortoise was one of the overlords under the water, and it had cultivated in the depths of the lake for more than 6,200 years. It had already mastered spirituality. Only Chu Chu, a master of the sanctuary, could subdue it when he came here today. Moreover, the black tortoise's fate was not very good. If Tang Xiaoxi had not absorbed too much spiritual qi from the fire flood dragon and evaporated half of the lake water, the black tortoise would not have been discovered by Chu Chu. As soon as the green gourd martial soul touched the cold and soft beast spirit of the black tortoise, it absorbed the spiritual qi crazily as if it was a good rain after a drought. Lin Muyu sat there with her eyes closed, but her whole body was trembling. Although her eyes were closed, waves of air had been generated in the bottom of her heart. She could even look inside her dantian, only to find that her dantian had been burned dry by the fire flood dragon. The vines that grew out of the martial soul gourd had been burned to a mess, and were crazily absorbing the spiritual qi of the black tortoise. The scorched black vines of the gourd also gradually returned to the original green color, as if they were healing themselves quickly. Lin Muyu was amazed. It was amazing that she could see the martial soul gourd with her eyes closed. After absorbing for nearly 20 minutes, the burns on the green gourd had basically healed, and the branches and leaves seemed more luxuriant. Lin Muyu also felt that the injuries in her meridians and bones had all been healed. An invisible force was surging in the green gourd, and it seemed that it would not be satisfied until it was released. Was it going to break through? Lin Muyu secretly rejoiced and called in the bottom of her heart, Lulu, are you still there? Brother, I'm here. In Ehai, the beautiful figure of the elf female official Lulu appeared. She flapped her transparent wings and appeared in front of Lin Muyu. She smiled and said, Brother, are you refining this gourd again? Yeah, can you help me see what materials I need to advance to the next level? Lulu opened her small mouth and looked at the huge body of the black tortoise outside. She said, Wow, it's a 1,000-year-old black tortoise. Brother, this is a top-grade refining material. There's a scarlet shell in the center of the black tortoise's shell, which is the most precious part of the black tortoise's body. It's called the fire armor. Although this fire armor isn't big, it contains the black tortoise's thousands of years of cultivation. Brother, take this fire armor out and put it into the refining cauldron. Lin Muyu slowly opened her eyes and said to Tang Xiaoxi, Princess Shi, please do me a favor. Tang Xiaoxi was a little embarrassed. She turned her face away and was afraid to look Lin Muyu in the eyes. It seemed that after facing Lin Muyu naked, it was difficult for her to face him. She said softly, and say it. In the middle of the black tortoise's shell, there's a fiery red shell. Can you dig it out with a knife and give it to me? And sure. Although Tang Xiaoxi didn't know what he wanted to do, she knew that Lin Muyu saved her life not long ago, so she had to help him. The fire armor was the most precious part of the black tortoise. Because the black tortoise belonged to the water attribute, it was cold, but the spiritual energy it absorbed contained both water and fire. Therefore, the black tortoise refined all the spiritual energy of the fire on its shell and formed the fire armor. The spirituality of this fire armor was far better than that of the other shells. This was also the reason why the fire armor was so precious. Originally, he planned to take it back to practice, but he did not expect that this boy was so knowledgeable. Well, he had already stepped into the sanctuary realm, so there was no need to compete with the younger generation. A few minutes later, Tang Xiaoxi jumped off the back of the black tortoise with a huge shell about 1 meter in diameter, drenched in sweat. She handed it to Lin Muyu and said, "Mu, what do you want this for?" Lin Muyu smiled mysteriously. "Refine it. I'll have to trouble Princess and Chu Chu to protect me for a while." Chu Chu and Tang Xiaoxi couldn't see the refining cauldron. All they could see was a faint glowing energy. Lin Muyu just threw the fire armor out. Suddenly, the energy fluctuated violently. He had begun to refine it. This time, he didn't need other materials. The energy of the fire armor alone was enough for the green gourd martial soul to make a breakthrough. The fire armor in the refining cauldron slowly became smaller, turning into pure fire power and seeping into the green gourd. This process lasted for about 30 minutes. When Lin Muyu stood up from the ground, his temperament and expression seemed to have changed greatly. Even Tang Xiaoxi couldn't help but say, You seem to be different." Chu Chu saw through it and smiled. He has broken through the second hurdle of the human realm and stepped into the third hurdle. Now his strength should be at level 27. Of course he is different. Ah, so fast. Tang Xiaoxi was stunned. I'm just, Chu Chu said. "Princess, you have absorbed too much of the fire dragon's spirit energy, but it is also a blessing in disguise. Your strength has already stepped into the 36th level of the War Master. Congratulations, to be able to step into the first level of the Earth realm at the age of less than 20 is considered rare in the Empire." Tang Xiaoxi was secretly happy. Lin Muyu said, "Chu, I was actually able to close my eyes and see the appearance of the green gourd. What's going on?" Chu Chu couldn't help but laugh. "Because you have broken through to the third hurdle of the human realm. The most obvious improvement for a cultivator at the third hurdle of the human realm is the ability to look inside. You actually don't understand such a simple thing. Oh right, Princess Shi, when your fire fox absorbed the fire dragon's spirit energy, did you refine the fire dragon's skill?" "No." Tang Xiaoxi shook her head in disappointment. "Where's Kidlin?" Chu Chu asked again. "I think so." Lin Muyu smiled slightly. "Huh." Chu Chu and Tang Xiaoxi were both shocked. "Quickly show us." Yes. At this moment, Lin Muyu felt that his entire body was filled with powerful energy, and he had to spit it out. After a low shout, the green gourd came out of his body, and with a wave of his hand, a gigantic gourd appeared in front of him in a defensive arc. He activated his skill, and with a wong sound, a scorching flame quickly spat out, and actually condensed into a fiery red-black tortoise shell in front of the gourd. Black tortoise shell. Chu Chu was secretly shocked and said, "Although your green gourd is only a 10th rank martial spirit, it has broken through twice and refined 2 martial spirit skills. It is truly rare. Xiaoxi, use your firefox to test the defense of Lin Muyu's black tortoise shell." "Can I?" Mu. Tang Xiaoxi asked carefully. After all, she was already in the first layer of the Earth realm, 1 level higher than her opponent, and the firefox was a 2nd rank martial spirit, which was much stronger than the green gourd. It would be bad if she accidentally hurt her opponent. Lin Muyu was just about to test the defense of the black tortoise shell, so he nodded happily. "Come on, Princess." Tang Xiaoxi was also a little excited, and with a wong sound, flames surrounded her, and the firefox came out of her body, and with a shrill sound, it hit the wall of the gourd released from Lin Muyu's palm. Bang! The firefox was of the fire attribute, but so was the black tortoise shell. Under the attack, Lin Muyu retreated a few steps, and the blood in her chest was surging. Good heavens! Although Tang Xiaoxi looked like a delicate and beautiful girl, her real strength was really strong. This attack almost numbed my arm, and it seemed that she did not use her full strength, otherwise I would not feel good. Tang Xiaoxi was also stunned. At least 80% of the firefox's strength was used in this attack, and she thought that it could penetrate the black tortoise shell, so she could quickly withdraw her strength and not hurt Lin Muyu. However, Tang Xiaoxi did not expect that after the attack of the firefox, the black tortoise shell was not damaged at all. Although Lin Muyu was repelled, it was only because of her advantage in the power of fire, and it did not mean that the firefox had defeated the green gourd. This made her a little sad. She was born in the famous Tang family of Qihai City, and she had comprehended the fire fox martial soul at a young age. None of the elder brothers in the family had comprehended the fire fox, except for her. This was also one of the reasons why her grandfather loved her so much. The fire fox was the symbol of the family, and also the symbol of power. But now her second-grade martial soul could only be tied with Lin Muyu's 10th-grade martial soul. This was a big blow to the competitive Tang Xiaoxi. However, looking at Lin Muyu's frowning face, Tang Xiaoxi could not be cruel. Instead, she felt that she might have hurt him, and felt a little guilty. She put away the fire fox and asked, "Mu, are you okay?" Her question made Lin Muyu feel embarrassed. She shook her head and said, "I'm fine. The attack of the fire fox was too shocking for Green Gourd, and my arm is a little numb." Tang Xiaoxi smiled happily. "That's good. I was afraid that I would hurt you." Chu Chu said from the side, "This kid's cultivation is not low, and Green Gourd has refined the black tortoise shell. She is already a defense-type martial soul, so it won't be easy for you to hurt him." Tang Xiaoxi stuck out her tongue. "I didn't want to hurt him." Lin Muyu smiled silently. It was already dark outside. Chu Chu looked at the sky and said, "We probably won't be able to leave tonight. Since Princess She has broken through to the first level of the Earth realm, this old man's mission is considered complete. We'll spend the night in the open and return to Silver Fir City at full speed tomorrow morning." All right. They set up a campfire. They had planned to bake some buns, but Tang Xiaoxi felt that she was sick of eating too many buns, so she took out a pot from her backpack and decided to make some meat soup. It was already late, and it was impossible to hunt rabbits, so they could only gather meat on the spot. They dug out a large piece of meat from the black tortoise and another piece from the fire dragon. The two types of meat were incompatible, so it was a novelty to cook them together. Moreover, Chu Chu often slept in the wild, so he actually brought salt and seasonings. Lin Muyu gathered some wild vegetables and threw them into the pot to cook. Not long after, a thick fragrance spread from the bottom of the mountain. After entering the Seven Stars Forest, Tang Xiaoxi hadn't eaten anything delicious. Now that she could finally eat to her heart's content, Lin Muyu ate a lot as well. The more energy he absorbed, the more he needed to replenish himself. When night fell, Tang Xiaoxi fell asleep again. She lay on her side with her back facing Lin Muyu. This beautiful princess could sleep much more than Lin Muyu and Chu Chu, so it was no wonder that she was so slender and elegant. If she could stay up all day like Chu Chu, then she would definitely look like him, with her skin as rough as tree bark. Lin Muyu didn't sleep. After practicing Thunder Strike and flying daggers for a few hours, she went into the depths of the lake alone. This kid. Chu Chu narrowed his eyes and opened his domain. After sensing that there were no threats in the surroundings, he followed, only to find that Lin Muyu had dived into the depths of the lake. A few minutes later, she surfaced with a cluster of fragrant lotus flowers in her arms. Under the moonlight, these lotuses glowed with color and were exceptionally enchanting. Chapter 23. Dripping wet, Lin Muyu walked to the fire and placed the lotus on the ground. Chu Chu couldn't help but ask, "This is the 7-colored lotus, right? What are you going to do with it?" "Refine medicine," Lin Muyu lightly said. "Lin Muyu, do you really not understand, or are you pretending not to understand?" Chu Chu asked. "What's wrong?" This time, it was Lin Muyu's turn to be confused. Chu Chu sat up and said, "The 7-colored lotus is a level 7 medicinal herb. It emits a delicate fragrance and is slightly poisonous. People who consume it will hallucinate. Moreover, the 7-colored lotus is very rare. Some nobles like to use the powder of the 7-colored lotus to make medicine for a short period of pleasure. This herb has long been listed as a forbidden medicine by the Empire's Spiritual Medicine Department. Only the military doctors have the right to use the 7-colored lotus to relieve the pain of the injured. You actually dare to use it to refine medicine? There's such a thing?" Lin Muyu thought for a moment and shook her head. "It's okay. As long as you don't tell anyone, no one will report me." As he spoke, he looked at Tang Xiaoxi, who was in a deep sleep. This beautiful little princess would definitely not tell on him. Choo Choo stared at this brat and said, "What do you want to refine with the 7-colored lotus?" As far as I know, the 7-colored lotus cannot be used with other medicinal herbs to refine medicine. The recipe for the 7-colored lotus has been lost for thousands of years. Dream of the extreme. Just these 4 simple words were enough to shock Choo Choo. Dream of the extreme. This was a long-lost phrase because the recipe for this medicine had long been forgotten by the world. The last person who had the ability to refine dream of the extreme was an alchemy god, but he had passed away thousands of years ago. Dream of the extreme was a rare medicine. It was listed as a level 7 medicine by the spiritual medicine department. Legend has it that this medicine could greatly stimulate a person's potential. After drinking the medicine, the person would fall into a deep sleep for at least 3 days and 3 nights. After waking up, the person's cultivation would increase greatly. It was even said that a person with a heaven's handicap physique comprehended a martial spirit after sleeping for 4 days after drinking dream of the extreme. For cultivators, dream of returning to the peak was something they yearned for even in their dreams. Do you really know the formula for dream of the zenith? Choo Choo looked at the young man in front of him in disbelief. Lin Muyu smiled. What do you think? Otherwise, I would have drowned. Do you think I picked these 7-colored lotuses just to play with you? As he spoke, he looked around and asked, "Are there any skeleton trees nearby?" Skeleton tree, one of the level 6 medicinal herbs. It was said that it would only grow on the bones of animals. Its attribute was extremely cold, and it was usually used in medicine to refine the flame energy in the human body. Choo Choo nodded. When I came here, there was a skeleton tree about 5 miles away. But your cultivation is so weak, you might not be able to come back alive. You have to understand, spirit beasts over 1,000 years old have the ability to kill you. Lin Muyu chuckled. So, don't tell me you want me to help you pick the skeleton tree? What do you think? Dream on. Choo Choo folded his arms and collapsed on the rock. He was extremely cold and arrogant. The strength and arrogance of a sanctuary powerhouse was indeed daunting. In this world, I'm probably the only one who knows the formula for Dream of the Zenith. Do you want to be the second one? Even the royal apothecary will look at you differently. Lin Muyu's voice was very soft. Choo Choo's body trembled slightly, and he struggled with himself for less than a second before he turned around and dashed into the distance as if he was flying. Protect Princess Shi well. I'll be back soon. The sanctuary expert was very fast. In less than 10 minutes, he was back with a pale white sapling in his hands. With an eagerly attentive look on his face, he smiled and said, "I've brought it back. You have to teach me how to refine Reverie Extreme Peak." Lin Muyu smiled secretly, but she said sternly, "The method to refine Dream of the Zenith is a top secret. I won't tell ordinary people, so there's a condition if you want to learn it." What condition? Teach me the green rock armor and the demonic sonic punch. Brat, you want to learn both of them? You're too arrogant. Choo Choo raised his eyebrows. Lin Muyu was a bit sad. She said indifferently, Dream of the Zenith is a lost art. Forget it, deal. Choo Choo was really an old man who couldn't resist temptation. Of course, this was only in terms of alchemy. If he wasn't so obsessed with alchemy, he probably wouldn't have become good friends with Chu Feng. Therefore, Lin Muyu taught Choo Choo step by step how to use the essence condensing hand to extract the medicinal essence from the skeleton tree. This process was extremely exquisite and complicated. She taught him more than 10 times before Choo Choo finally understood it. Refining the medicinal essence of the 7-colored lotus was relatively easy. As for refining medicine, it was even more complicated. The 2 medicinal essences had to be repeatedly fed with fire to remove the impurities. After that, he had to use the essence condensing hand to promote the fusion of the 2 medicinal essences. After more than 3 hours, Lin Muyu had refined a total of 5 bottles of Dream of the Zenith, and Choo Choo had refined 2 bottles. Choo Choo picked up one of the bottles refined by Lin Muyu and smelled it. He was stunned. 2nd grade Dream of the Zenith? Oh my god. Smell yours again. Lin Muyu smiled. Just like Hawkeye, Choo Choo was experienced. He could determine the quality of the medicine just by smelling it. He smelled the 2 bottles he refined and couldn't help but be extremely disappointed. 9th grade. It's not bad. At least this is the genuine dream of the zenith. Lin Muyu stuffed all 5 bottles of potions into her bag. Wait. Chu Chu looked at the 5 bottles of Dream of the Zenith in Lin Muyu's bag and said, Can you leave 1 bottle for the princess? She's at the golden age of cultivation, and a bottle of Dream of the Zenith is very important to her. I don't have any money for you. Name a price. Lin Muyu couldn't help but laugh and said, Princess, she forget it, I'll give her a bottle. Okay, thank you. All right. Lin Muyu clapped her hands and said, I've already taught you everything about Dream of Returning Peak's medicine essence refinement, formula, and refining method. Now it's time for you to fulfill your promise and teach me the green rock armor and demonic sonorous fist. Okay. Chu Chu was a man of his word. Under the moonlight, it wasn't difficult to teach him the formula of the green rock armor and the circulation method of the vital energy. He just needed to transform the vital energy in his body into a thick rock force, which could be considered as an upgraded version of the protective vital energy. Although the green rock armor was only a protective energy for Chu Chu, for Lin Muyu, using the green rock armor together with the black tortoise shell was not as simple as 1 + 1 is equal to 2. Instead, it was an exponential increase. With this extraordinary defense, he could challenge experts whose strength was higher than his. After more than an hour of practice, he could already condense a faint green rock force around his body. It was just that it was far from being as dense as Chu Chu's. What he needed to practice next was just mastery. At least for now, he could be considered to have made some progress. After learning the green rock armor, he continued to ask Chu Chu for guidance. Demonic Sound Fist was Lin Muyu's favorite unique skill. Since the first time Chu Chu used the Demonic Sound Fist, Lin Muyu had fallen in love with this move. Through the pulsation of vital energy, he could affect the fluctuation of the air and form a sound wave to attack the opponent from a distance. It could shock the opponent's internal organs. What a cool, unique skill. However, the more powerful the martial arts, the more difficult it was to learn. The basic ability of the Demonic Sound Fist was called wind beating. When a punch was made, it could form a pulse in the air. It required the speed of the punch to be close to the speed of sound. At the same time, it could stimulate the vital energy to push the fluctuation of the air. Just this alone, Lin Muyu practiced barehanded for at least 3 hours. He was sweating profusely. Finally, he mastered the skill of wind beating before dawn. Chu Chu watched Lin Muyu practicing. His heart was in turmoil. He had seen many geniuses in his life, but he had never seen a genius like Lin Muyu. This kid only used 3 hours to learn the skill of wind beating. In order to master the skill of wind beating, he had practiced hard for 7 days and 7 nights. Did this mean that this kid's comprehension was 10 times better than his? Chu Chu was a little hesitant. He didn't even know what kind of terrifying person he was teaching. However, from the moment they met, Chu Chu seemed to have a vague feeling that Lin Muyu was hiding something. But he was definitely not a bad person. Otherwise, he wouldn't have risked his life to save Tang Xiaoxi. Even though Tang Xiaoxi possessed a beauty that could cause the downfall of cities and countries, and those princes and dukes in the imperial capital had all claimed that they were willing to sacrifice their lives for Tang Xiaoxi, but if that moment really came, it was likely that all of them would shrink back. After all, when it came to things like beauties, lechers only wanted to possess them, not to protect them. After learning the wind technique, Lin Muyu began to teach Chu Chu the chant of the demonic noise fist. What shocked Chu Chu again was that the chant was so long that Lin Muyu could memorize it by heart after reading it 3 times. Looking at Chu Chu's dumbfounded expression, Lin Muyu also laughed in his heart. It was just memorizing a chant of 1,000 words. This was all a small matter. Thinking back to when he was learning shorthand, it was truly domineering. Moreover, the first prize that he had won in various competitions since he was young wasn't just for show. Top student, gaming king, super rich second generation. This was his identity. Speaking of which, the Lamborghini that he ordered should have returned from abroad, right? He didn't know if his brother and father would accept it for him. Now that he was in this strange world, he didn't know how to return. The only thing he could do was to live on. Looking up at the starry sky, Lin Muyu felt lost. However, when he looked down, the faint morning light shone on Tang Xiaoxi's peaceful face. It seemed that he could find something here. Everything that he had would eventually disappear like smoke. Who knew what tomorrow would bring? When the true dawn arrived, Lin Muyu finally grasped the basics of the demonic noise fist. At the very least, she could hit a tree 10 meters away and cause it to tremble slightly. Although the damage it dealt didn't seem like much, the power of the demonic noise fist would gradually show itself as her cultivation increased. Most importantly, any random battle technique in Silver Fir City could be sold for several Jinyin coins, and there was no lack of inferior or deceptive battle techniques. The Thunder Strike Slash, Cyan Rock Armor, and Demonic Noise Fist that she learned from Chu Chu were all genuine high-rank battle techniques. Most importantly, they were free. Chapter 24. They set out early in the morning, but they still hadn't made it out of Seven Stars Forest by sunset. However, they were already 50 kilometers away from Silver Fir City, so they decided to travel at night. Moreover, Lin Muyu and Tang Xiaoxi's cultivation had improved so much that Chu Chu wasn't worried about encountering spirit beasts that were too strong. Even if he didn't take action himself, the spirit beasts on the outskirts of Seven Stars Forest could be taken care of by the two juniors. Along the way, Lin Muyu had been silently practicing the demon sonorous fist on horseback. He would either circulate his energy, catch his breath, or punch at the trees in the distance. He did not waste any time along the way. The speed and strength of every punch of the demon sonorous fist grew stronger and stronger. Naturally, the power was also increasing. Seeing this, Chu Chu secretly praised Lin Muyu in his heart. This kid was indeed a rare genius. To be able to master the Thunderstrike Slash, Green Rock Armor, and Demon Sonorous Fist in such a short period of time. How powerful would he be in the future? They arrived at Silver Fir City late at night. When the three of them arrived at the city gates, a guard dressed in red robes had already walked up to restrain Tang Xiaoxi's mount. He smiled respectfully. Congratulations on your success, Princess Shi. You've broken through the human realm and stepped into the first level of the earth realm. Tang Xiaoxi smiled slightly. Thank you. Let's enter the city and stay at the courier house tonight. We'll depart tomorrow morning and return to the imperial capital. I haven't been back in a long time. Yes. The guard raised his head to look at Lin Muyu and said in surprise. This kid looks very familiar. Lin Muyu said. I'm a worker at 100 Spirits Medicine Shop. I see. You must be that Lin Muyu, who refined a first-grade medicine? Yes. Huh. The guard laughed dryly for some reason and said, tomorrow is the day when the younger generation of Kathaya City's alchemy world will fight for the pardon writ. The young city lord, Hua Wan, is determined to win it, but since you've returned tonight, I'm sure there will be an exciting fight tomorrow. Princess Shi, would you like to watch? Tang Xiaoxi couldn't resist the temptation and looked back at Chu Chu. Chu Chu smiled helplessly. Fine. We'll leave after watching the fight tomorrow morning. Plus, Princess Shi is the envoy this time. She should be the one to personally issue the pardon. Yes, thank you, Chu. And so Tang Xiaoxi seemed to be purposely avoiding him. After Lin Muyu sent Tang Xiaoxi and Chu Chu back to the courier house, he rode back to 100 Spirits Medicine Shop. When he pushed open the door, he saw Chu Yao standing under a tree in the distance, light swirling around her. She was cultivating her martial soul, the Purple Marten. The Purple Marten was very cute, and was very similar to Tang Xiaoxi's martial soul, the Red Fox, but it was much weaker. The Red Fox was a second-grade martial soul, while the Purple Marten was a fifth-grade martial soul. It was the difference between a commoner's martial soul and a noble's. Sister Chu Yao. Lin Muyu called out softly. Immediately, Chu Yao opened her beautiful eyes and jumped forward in joy, hugging him with open arms. You've returned safely. Senior brother Wang Ying said that you might not be able to return. Quickly, let me see. She intimately pulled Lin Muyu's arm and looked at him. He seemed to have become stronger, and the flow of true qi on the surface of his body was also much more vigorous than before. The biggest change was the expression in his eyes. Confidence and calmness showed that his strength had increased. Sister Chu Yao, I have a martial soul. Lin Muyu smiled. Chu Yao said excitedly. Oh, what kind of martial soul? Lin Muyu muttered softly, and immediately, the azure gourd came out of his body. He said with some embarrassment, Azure gourd, a 10th grade martial soul, but it's still very easy to cultivate. Oh, Chu Yao hurriedly comforted him. It's okay, a 10th grade martial soul is still a martial soul. It will help your cultivation progress. It's good, it's good. At most, I'll represent 100 Spirits Medicine Shop in the competition for the Special Pardon Order tomorrow. In any case, I've already cultivated to rank 21. Wow, Sister Chu Yao's cultivation speed is quite fast. I remember that you just broke through rank 19 to rank 20 last time. That's right. Chu Yao stuck out her full chest and said with a confident smile, I'm currently the person with the highest cultivation in the entire 100 Spirits Medicine Shop. Do you think I can beat Hua Wan? It's a bit difficult. Lin Muyu touched his nose and said honestly. Chu Yao smiled and lightly patted his shoulder, saying, Humph, can't you have a bit of confidence in your senior sister? All right, you must be starving since you came back so late. I'll go make you something to eat. Yesterday, I went into the mountains to gather herbs and caught 2 wild rabbits. I left half for you. Humph, that glutton Luo Kai, if it wasn't for me, he would definitely eat the other half. Lin Muyu couldn't help but smile. Her heart felt warm. She didn't know when, but she actually felt like she had returned home. The night passed quickly. Chu Feng, Wang Ying, Luo Kai, and the others all came to see Lin Muyu when they heard that she had returned. Chu Yao was the last to leave Lin Muyu's room. As soon as Chu Yao left, Lin Muyu immediately sat cross-legged on the bed to cultivate the true qi within her body. In this world, the levels of strength were measured by the intensity of one's strength. The more vigorous and pure one's true qi was, the higher one's level of strength would be. She couldn't slack off. The next morning, Chu Yao knocked on the door early in the morning. After breakfast, all the disciples of the 100 Spirits Medicine Shop went to the venue for the special pardon writ contest. Chu Feng also followed. Ever since Chu Yao had broken through to the 2nd level of the human realm, he had placed great expectations on this granddaughter of his. Perhaps Chu Yao would be able to emerge victorious in this contest? Silver Fir City was known as the alchemy capital of the empire. There had once been 2 alchemy god-level masters in Silver Fir City, but that was a matter of several thousand years ago. Even so, the citizens of Silver Fir City were still diligently pursuing the art of alchemy. The younger generation also wanted to diligently practice alchemy and reclaim the glory of their ancestors. The arena was set up in the drill ground of the city lord's mansion. According to the laws of the empire, every city lord had the right to train a certain number of prefecture soldiers. During non-war times, the prefecture soldiers would be used to eliminate bandits, and during times of war, they would have to join the imperial army. The city lord of Silver Fir City, Hua Tian, had trained a total of nearly 2,000 prefecture soldiers. This was already the limit of this small city with a population of 50,000. The drill ground wasn't big, but it was already overcrowded with citizens who had come to watch the contest. As for the nobles within the city, they had been arranged to sit in the prominent stands. Lin Muyu looked into the distance. As expected, Tang Xiaoxi and Chu Chu were both sitting in the master's seats with Hua Tian. The format of the contest was very simple. Challenge. Moreover, only the top 10 alchemy halls of the medicinal ceremony had the right to send someone to challenge. The young city lord, Hua Wan, was holding a thin sword and wearing a white robe as he stood on the arena. He was the recipient of the special pardon order from the previous medicinal ceremony, and this time, he was the arena lord. His face was filled with pride as he looked at the crowd below the arena. The corner of his mouth rose as he smiled and said, This junior is Hua Wan, and I am fortunate enough to be the holder of the special pardon order from the previous medicinal ceremony. I am here to welcome the challenges of the young alchemists. Whoever can defeat me will be able to take away the special pardon order from my hands. As soon as he finished speaking, a young man in blue clothes jumped onto the arena, with an iron sword in hand. His body was light, and it seemed that his cultivation wasn't low. He cupped his fists and smiled. Sir Hua, I am Dongluan of the Azure Sky Medicine Shop. Please enlighten me. Hua Wan smiled. So it's Dongluan. Come. He put his hands behind his back, and actually carried his sword on his back. He waved his left hand lightly, and a silver shield of air appeared in his palm. He dared to fight his opponent without using a weapon? Luo Kai was shocked. Isn't this young city lord a little too arrogant? He's challenging Dongluan barehanded? I heard that Dongluan is already a rank 24 battle spirit. Wang Ying sneered. Don't you see the air shield in Huawan's left hand? He can already condense an air shield. This means that he's already broken through rank 29 and stepped into the first level of the Earth realm. What? Luo Kai couldn't help but click his tongue. What a terrifying Huawan, who in the younger generation of Kathaya City can be his match. On the arena, Dongluan had already made his move. With a shout, the image of a golden arrow appeared on his blade and shot forward. Wang Ying immediately cried out in surprise. Grade 8 martial spirit, cloud-piercing arrow. The speed of the cloud-piercing arrow was very fast, but it was not faster than Huawan's speed. The qi shield in his left palm abruptly met the cloud-piercing arrow, forcibly smashing it into pieces. Huawan's palms had already been trained to the point where they were almost impervious to swords and spears. Just like that, he used his bare hands to block the opponent's iron sword. With a kung sound, sparks splashed out. Then with one hand he used his middle finger to clamp down on Dongluan's iron sword. Hua. Under the collision of air currents, Dongluan's cultivation was far inferior to his opponent's. He was pushed back repeatedly, but Huawan didn't show any mercy and stabbed the broken sword into Dongluan's shoulder. Blood splattered everywhere as Dongluan retreated a dozen steps. He fell to one knee and panted heavily. I lost. In just a single exchange, Dongluan had lost. Huawan's tyrannical aura was so overwhelming that Wang Ying, Luo Kai, and the other 100 spirits apothecary disciples were all dumbfounded. They almost didn't dare to breathe too loudly. To them, Huawan was an expert that they couldn't challenge, an existence that they couldn't even look at. Chu Yao bit her lip, her shoulders trembling slightly. Perhaps it was because of Huawan's strength, or perhaps because he was too cruel. Sister Chu Yao, are you all right? Lin Muyu asked in concern. I'm fine. Huawan was too ruthless. Emenya. In the end, a few people who went up to challenge Huawan all failed. One of them had his arm pierced, and another had his leg broken by Huawan's Thunder Hammer martial spirit. In any case, none of the losers came out unscathed. This seemed to make Huawan, who was on the stage, even more proud. He had already regarded this battle for the Special Pardon Order as an enjoyment. On the side, a mercenary wearing broken armor raised the corner of his mouth and sneered. I heard that City Lord Hua Tian spent a lot of money to buy a 3,000-year-old Thunder Spirit Stone from a wandering merchant 2 days ago. It seems that the young City Lord has already refined the power of the Spirit Stone. Otherwise, how could he have broken through to the first layer of the Earth realm, level 33, so quickly? When he said level 33, Lin Muyu clearly saw a trace of surprise flash across Chu Yao's face. The disparity was too great. Chu Yao was level 21, but Huawan was already level 33. Chapter 25. Princess Shi, what do you think of the young city lord's cultivation? Chu Chu took a sip of tea and asked with a smile. Tang Xiaoxi lay on the table in boredom and looked at the arena in the distance. The strength of his martial soul isn't bad. It's not bad for a mere 6th grade Thunderhammer to cultivate to this level. It's just that his attacks are too cruel. Off to the side, Hua Tian's facial muscles twitched. Tang Xiaoxi didn't care about the city lord's feelings at all. Hua Tian was the same as his son, a 6th grade Thunderhammer. Tang Xiaoxi's words were an insult to the Thunderhammer, but Tang Xiaoxi had a 2nd grade Firefox martial soul. This left Hua Tian speechless. Moreover, her identity was too illustrious. He couldn't afford to offend her. Duke of Tsongland's Qihai City was one of the 7 great cities of the empire. It had a population of nearly 1 million, far greater than a small city like Silver Fir City. Tangluan also controlled dozens of cities outside of Qihai City. Whether it was power or status, he was far above Hua Tian. After defeating 12 opponents in a row, the complacency on Huawan's face grew thicker. Suddenly, he turned around and walked to the edge of the martial stage. He pointed at Lin Muyu and said, "Lin Muyu, you lowly commoner. After cultivating for 3 days, it's time for you to challenge me, right?" Lin Muyu clenched her teeth. Fine. But at this moment, Chu Yao suddenly pressed down on Lin Muyu's shoulder. You're not his match. Let Sister Chu Yao go up first. Wait. Before Lin Muyu could finish speaking, Chu Yao suddenly leaped onto the arena. She held 2 daggers in her hands and looked at Hua Wan with hostility. Come. Hua Wan couldn't help but laugh loudly. His lustful eyes swept over Chu Yao's chest and bottom. I was wondering who it was. So it's Chu Yao. What, you can't wait to become my 7th concubine? Shameless. Chu Yao shouted and activated her purple marten martial spirit. Adding it to her 2 daggers, she suddenly rushed forward. Her daggers quickly waved 3 times. Hua Wan's calmness far surpassed Chu Yao's imagination. Her thin sword was like a willow branch in the spring wind, completely dispersing the 3 attacks. With an explosive roar, the Thunder Hammer martial spirit appeared on her blade. Bang! Sparks flew. Chu Yao raised her daggers in front of her chest to block her opponent's attack, but she was forced back several steps. The disparity in strength was too great. The lightning hammer's ferocious energy wreaked havoc on her body. In the end, she couldn't hold on any longer and spat out a mouthful of blood. Little beauty, I really can't bear to hurt you. Hurry up and go down, you're not my match. Let that useless Lin Muyu come up, I want to teach him a good lesson. Hua Wan was still thinking about the time when Lin Muyu used the vines of the iron pear flower to slap his face. Chu Yao was indignant. She slowly straightened her body, and continued to strengthen her daggers with her purple marten martial soul. Her eyes were filled with hatred. Sister Chu Yao, come down. Lin Muyu ordered loudly. Chu Feng also shouted. Yao, come down quickly. You're no match for him. However, Chu Yao was a very stubborn and competitive woman. Enduring the sharp pain, she suddenly slid forward and attacked her opponent again. As the dagger swept past with a huala sound, her martial spirit actually exerted all its strength in an instant. The purple marten chirped as it pounced towards Hua Wan's arm. With a piu-chi sound, it bit the arm, causing blood to spurt out. Ah! Hua Wan was in so much pain that her face was starting to contort. She roared. I gave you face but you don't want it. As he spoke, he raised his left arm, and the vast Thunder Hammer martial spirit, which was filled with power, heavily fell on Chu Yao's chest. Bang! The purple marten's radiance scattered, and Chu Yao was seriously injured and fell back several meters. Die! Hua Wan shouted in a low voice. Almost all the power in his body was concentrated on the long sword. The blade made a wung-wung sound, and his true energy was vast and mighty. As long as this attack landed, a big hole would inevitably appear in Chu Yao's chest. So, just as Chu Yao was about to close her eyes, a figure suddenly flashed in front of her. It was a familiar figure and a familiar voice. Hua Wan, if you have any problems, come at me. Lin Muyu opened her palm, and the power of her martial spirit whistled out. The wall of the gourd appeared in front of her chest, and she quickly added the power of the mysterious tortoise shell. How could Hua Wan care so much? The blade was filled with power, and he fiercely stabbed down. Bang! A loud sound rang out, and the battle arena was stirred up into the air. Lin Muyu took 3 steps back, and lightly bumped into Chu Yao's chest. However, Hua Wan was even worse off. His arm was numb from the impact, and he looked at the sharp sword in his hand in disbelief. How is this possible? He could not believe that his attack with all his strength was blocked by Lin Muyu. Could it be some kind of sorcery? Chu Yao looked at Lin Muyu's back in shock. At this moment, she only felt that the figure of the man in front of her was constantly growing, and he could completely protect her. Lin Muyu turned around and smiled. Sister Chu Yao, quickly get off the stage. You have already lost. The next battle belongs to me and Hua Wan. Okay. She was an obedient girl, and she quickly slid down the stage. Chu Feng quickly checked her injuries. On the stage, there were only 2 men left. Hua Wan was dressed in luxurious clothes, and it formed a strong contrast with Lin Muyu's light green clothes. The violence and hatred on his face also formed a great contrast with Lin Muyu's calmness. You lowly commoner. Hua Wan's hatred had already flowed from his words. He quickly infused the long sword in his hand with his true energy, and his left hand raised 3 fingers. He growled, 3 moves. I only need 3 moves to make you kneel on the ground and call me Grandpa. What if I don't lose in 3 moves? Lin Muyu said. Then I'll call you Grandpa. Hua Wan angrily rebuked. No, why would I want a grandson like you? Lin Muyu's words caused the surrounding commoners to roar with laughter. Most of the spectators were born as commoners, but they did not dare to speak up against people like Hua Wan. No one was like Lin Muyu, openly provoking the nobles. Then what do you want? If you can't kill me in 3 moves, you give me 300 Jining coins. How about that? Lin Muyu said with a smile. 300 Jining coins? Hua Wan frowned. Although he was the city lord, 300 Jining coins was not a small sum. However, since he'd already made his offer, he had no choice but to accept it. Thus he braced himself and said, Fine, if I lose I'll give you 300 Jining coins. If I win, I'll take your worthless life. Lin Muyu clapped her hands. Deal. Hua Wan was truly enraged by now. He had summoned his thunder hammer to its fullest extent, and bolts of lightning crackled across his sword. He cultivated a battle technique based on the laws of thunder, a technique he had inherited from his father. It was called the thunder art, and when used in tandem with his thunder hammer, he was able to bring out his absolute strength to the limit. This was also the reason why the Hua family was able to stand tall in Silver Fir City for so long. Attract lightning. With a shout, Hua Wan's figure flashed forward, his blade trailing a streak of lightning. Lin Muyu could see it clearly. Hua Wan was stronger than her, but not by much. She wouldn't be at a disadvantage if she fought him head-on, but it wasn't a smart move. Suddenly, Lin Muyu used falling star steps to flash to the other side, causing Hua Wan's sword to miss. Lin Muyu moved swiftly and attacked from the side. Her steel sword glowed with the same lightning, but it was faster and more effective. A silent lightning strike landed directly on Hua Wan's right leg. Blood instantly gushed out, and Hua Wan's protective aura collapsed. A wound about 10 centimeters long appeared on his leg. Bastard! He cursed angrily, his strength exploding as he shouted, Thunder dance! Bolts of lightning spread in all directions. Hua Wan was going all out. He already knew his weakness. He had been too focused on his strength, so he had neglected his speed. Lin Muyu's strange footwork was his nemesis. He had thought that he would definitely win, but Lin Muyu had easily dodged his attack. If this continued, his next attack would also be dodged. Thunder Dance was a battle skill that allowed one to use the power of lightning to form a net attack. It was also a skill that he was proud of for 6 years. In this world, there were only 3 people who could perfectly use Thunder Dance, and he was one of them. Bolts of lightning wreaked havoc around Hua Wan's body. The sword in his hand trembled slightly, almost bursting with power. He suddenly leaped up, raised his sword with the force of a mountain, and slashed at Lin Muyu's head. This time, with the area of effect of Thunder Dance, Lin Muyu wouldn't be able to dodge it even if she wanted to. But Lin Muyu didn't plan on dodging. She might be able to dodge it now, but she wouldn't be able to dodge it forever. Holding the sword in front of his chest, he quickly summoned his martial spirit. The green gourd emerged from his body, transforming into a giant gourd that protected him from Thunder Dance. At the same time, he gritted his teeth and shouted, Black Tortoise Shell! Bolts of flames flew into the air, condensing into a fiery red black tortoise shell that appeared on the walls of the gourd. The black tortoise shell was made of pure fire energy and was a non-conductive material. Naturally, it could perfectly defend against his opponent's attack. Hua Wan's heart trembled when he saw the fiery red black tortoise shell again, but he still slashed down with his sword. He hated this kid for making a fool of himself in front of so many citizens of Kathaya City. He hated Lin Muyu for making a fool of him in front of his father. Given his father's strictness, if he lost, his days in the future wouldn't be easy. Pung. Hua Wan's Thunder Dance completely shattered against the walls of the gourd. The fact that it hadn't been able to break through the defense of the black tortoise shell showed just how tough it was. Just when the Thunder Dance was about to run out of energy, Lin Muyu abruptly rushed forward and rammed her elbow into Hua Wan's chin. At the same time, she raised her right leg and slammed it into his lower abdomen. The young city lord was sent flying like a kite with its string cut, but this wasn't enough to defeat him. Lin Muyu didn't want to waste any more time with him, and with a shout, she landed on the ground as if she were standing on a stake. Her left fist swung out in an arc, whistling through the air as she punched out with about 50% of her strength. Demon Sound Fist. Bang! A muffled sound rang through the air as Hua Wan fell limply to the ground. He didn't even make a sound. He'd actually been knocked unconscious. Every dragon had a reverse scale, and those who touched it would be enraged. This was the result of injuring Chu Yao. Chapter 26. Young Castellan Hua Wan was defeated within 3 moves. There was a dead silence. City Governor Hua Tian stood up, clenching his fists and staring at his beloved son, who had fainted in the arena. He really won. Tang Xiaoxi also stood up and said with a smile, "Chu Chu, your teachings can really change a person." Chu Chu didn't respond. He knew that the boy's rapid progress had something to do with himself, so he said, "That's because he practiced hard." After a full 2 minutes, cheers finally broke out around the ring. Everyone knew that Lin Muyu was a commoner. A commoner without a mentor was able to defeat the young city lord, Hua Wan. Everyone could not believe the scene before their eyes, but when they thought of the arrogant young city lord, this group of people felt happy from the bottom of their hearts. City Governor Hua Tian, "It's time to announce it," Chu Chu said. It seemed that if he didn't say it, Hua Tian wouldn't give the special pardon to Lin Muyu. "No hurry. Let's wait and see if there are any challengers." Okay. After waiting for another hour, no one was willing to challenge Lin Muyu. Tang Xiaoxi also urged, "City Governor Hua, hurry up and announce it. I have to hurry back to Lanyan City." "Yes, Your Highness." Hua Tian was straightforward. He leaped down from the audience stand, took out the special pardon token from Hua Wan's waist, and respectfully walked onto the stage with the special pardon token in his hands. He said in a clear voice, "Lin Muyu, the special pardon token is a sacred object issued by the Department of Spiritual Medicine of our empire. It's the most precious treasure in the field of medicine refinement. I hope you can carry forward the spirit of us alchemists who practice medicine for the sake of others, and don't waste this special pardon token." "Thank you, City Governor." Lin Muyu took the pardon and thanked him. Hua Tian's eyes were full of admiration. He patted Lin Muyu's shoulder and said with a smile, "You have such extraordinary cultivation at such a young age. You are really not simple. I hope you will continue to work hard and become a great medicine king, or even medicine god. You will make the whole Silver Fir City and even the whole empire proud of you." "Thank you." After exchanging some pleasantries, Hua Tian ordered the guards to take the unconscious Hua Wan away and wake him up with the fragrance of the peace god flower. When Lin Muyu walked off the stage, Chu Feng, Chu Yao Luokai, and the rest of the people from the 100 Spirits medicine shop congratulated her. Especially Chu Yao. She was even happier than if she had won the special pardon. When Lin Muyu looked up, he found that Chu Chu and Tang Xiaoxi had already disappeared from the spectators' stand. After dealing with the crowd's congratulations, he walked out of the city governor's mansion, and didn't see Tang Xiaoxi. He asked the guard beside him, "Where are Princess Shi and Chu Chu?" "They've already left." The guard said with a smile, "Congratulations, kid. You actually defeated the young city governor. You're really young and promising." "They've already left." Lin Muyu felt a bit lonely. He looked at the empty street. Tang Xiaoxi seemed to be intentionally avoiding him. She didn't even want to see him one last time. Just when he was feeling lost, the sound of hooves suddenly came from the distance. A guard with the purple Yinghua Empire's emblem on his chest dismounted. He held a white handkerchief in his hand and said, "Lin Muyu." "Yes, you are? I'm Princess Shi's guard. Have you forgotten about me?" He respectfully held the handkerchief with both hands and said, "Princess Shi left in a hurry and ordered me to give this to you." "This is?" When he opened the handkerchief, he saw a fiery red iron token with a simple Tang character carved on it. The Tang Sex iron token. The guard was slightly surprised and said, "I didn't expect the princess to give you the Tang Sex iron token that she always carries with her." There are only 3 of them in the whole world. Lin Muyu held the heavy token and felt a little sad. Tang Xiaoxi must have put in a lot of effort to give this token to him. Did she leave any words behind? Yes. The guard said in a low voice. She said that if you encounter any difficulties one day, you can hold the Tang Sect's iron token and look for her in Lanyan City. If she's not in the imperial capital, she must be in Qihai City. You can find her there. Many thanks. Lin Muyu bowed. The guard performed an imperial military salute, bowing with his left hand clenched into a fist and his right palm across his chest. He was a soldier. Luo Kai's voice came from behind at this time. Why are you out here? The city lord is looking for you. He said that there will be a banquet tonight at the city lord's manor, inviting all the elites of the city's pill refinement world. You and Yao are both invited. I'll be right there. Lin Muyu tucked the Tang Sect iron medallion into her bosom. This simple and unadorned iron medallion actually emitted a faint warmth, as if it still carried Tang Xiaoxi's body warmth. Lin Muyu's imagination ran wild. Could it be the bodyguard's body warmth? Her mind was in a mess. Outside the city, Tang Xiaoxi looked back at Kathaya City. Chu Chu didn't expose her, saying, Princess, if it's possible, forget about him. Tang Xiaoxi blushed. Why would Chu say such a thing? There's a demon sleeping in that brat's body. Tang Xiaoxi suddenly stood there, not knowing what to say in response. The city lord's manor was still brightly lit after sunset. There were about 40 people attending the banquet. Lin Muyu, Chu Yao, and Chu Feng were among them. Wang Ying, Luo Kai, and the others were not invited. During the banquet, Hua Wan's arm was bandaged in 2 places. From time to time, he would shoot a burning gaze at Lin Muyu as if he wanted to kill her. City Lord Hua Tian, on the other hand, was much more magnanimous. After a toast, he said, Let me tell everyone a piece of good news. What news, City Lord? The crowd asked. Hua Tian cleared his throat and said, Just 2 hours ago, I received a letter from the Imperial Capital's Spirit Medicine Division. This year, we will be selecting a highly respected medicine refiner from Kathaya City to join the Spirit Medicine Division and assume the position of an elder. Heavens! An old alchemist exclaimed in shock. Join the Spirit Medicine Department? This is a great honor. I wonder which alchemist master would have such an honor? Hua Tian said. Everyone can recommend yourselves. Sages can join the Spirit Medicine Department. There is only one requirement, and that is that they must be at least a Grandmaster Alchemist and be able to refine rank 6 medicines. The old alchemist nodded. I see. Unfortunately, this old man is too old. I'm afraid I won't be able to go that far. Hua Tian smiled. Old Mr. Wang, do you have a candidate to recommend? The old alchemist couldn't help but smile, saying, This old man recommends Elder Chu of the 100 Spirits Medicine Shop. Elder Chu has spent his entire life studying alchemy, and he recently refined rank 6 medicines. He is a late bloomer, and his disciple, Lin Muyu, has even surpassed him and obtained a special pardon. Therefore, Elder Chu is the most suitable elder for the Spirit Medicine Department. What do you think, City Lord? Hua Tian thought for a moment. What do you think, Elder Chu? Chu Feng was stunned, saying, My granddaughter, Chu Yao, and a group of disciples are all in Silver Fir City. This old man naturally wants to go to the Spirit Medicine Department, but I can't let go of these disciples in Silver Fir City. Hua Tian laughed. Elder Chu, you worry too much. Lin Muyu and Chu Yao are the cream of the crop of the new generation in Silver Fir City. I've already decided to send them to the Spirit Medicine Department to further their studies. All of their food and lodging will be provided by the treasury of Silver Fir City. You don't need to worry too much, Elder Chu. As long as I, Hua Tian, am in Silver Fir City, I won't let anything happen to them. Chu Feng had spent his entire life studying alchemy, and now he had the opportunity to enter the Spirit Medicine Department, the holy temple of the alchemy world. How could he not be happy? He couldn't decide what to do for a moment. Grandpa, don't worry. I can take good care of you. Chu Yao said with a smile. Lin Muyu also smiled. Grandpa, don't worry. I'll take good care of Sister Chu Yao. You can go to the Spirit Medicine Department without worry. That's where you belong. Finally, Chu Feng made his decision. He cupped his fists and said, "Thank you, City Lord, for your guidance." Hua Tian nodded. Go back and pack your things tonight. I'll invite General Ning from Silver Fir City's garrison to escort you to the imperial capital. I'll make sure you're safe on the way. Chu Feng. Thank you, my lord. That night, Chu Yao helped her grandfather pack his luggage. While doing so, she muttered, "Grandpa's old pipe. Oh, I can't bring it for him. He's so old he shouldn't smoke anymore. His cough hasn't gotten better. Here. Grandpa's pulse opening diagram. Also Grandpa's knee pads. He broke his leg while climbing the mountain, and it hurts when it rains. He needs this, and..." Lin Muyu also helped with the packing. After a long while, Chu Feng finally appeared. He came out of the bedroom with a heavy iron cabinet in his arms. He called softly, "Yao, you come here." The two juniors sat opposite him with solemn expressions. Chu Feng couldn't help but smile. "Grandpa will be leaving for the imperial capital tomorrow. I don't know when I'll be back. This 100 Spirits Medicine Hall is the blood, sweat, and tears of several generations of the Chu family. From now on, I'll hand it over to you too. This is the money the medicine hall has accumulated over the years. It's not a lot, just 30 or so gold coins. You'll have to be frugal." Chu Feng said, "Originally, I was planning to use this money to buy Yao's dowry. But now, this old man has to go to Lanyan City alone." Chu Yao's heart ached. She rolled her eyes. "Grandpa, don't say any more. Yao doesn't want to get married." "What nonsense are you talking about?" Chu Feng said with a smile. "How can you not get married? Your parents are watching from the heavens. Ever since there's been no news of your brother, our Chu family has been relying on you alone." Chu Yao's face turned red. "Grandpa, don't say any more." Lin Muyu laughed inwardly and pretended not to hear anything. Late at night, Chu Feng's grandpa had gone to bed early. Lin Muyu and Chu Yao were picking medicinal herbs in the yard. "You grandpa is about to go to the Spirit Medicine Hall. What should we do in the future? Do you have any plans?" Chu Yao suddenly asked. "Sister Chu Yao, do you want to enter the Spirit Medicine Hall in Kathaya City to cultivate? As far as I know, the Spirit Medicine Hall is located in the City Lord's Manor. Even the guards there are from the City Lord's Manor." A sharp light shot out of Lin Muyu's eyes. Although the City Lord looks like a good person, his son Huawan won't let this matter rest. Chapter 27. I still want to enter Kathaya City's Spirit Herb Division. Chu Yao bit her red lips, and her gaze was very firm. "If I don't go to the Spiritual Medicine Division, then the 100 Spirits Medicine Store's business will still be steady. Moreover, Grandpa has already gone to the Imperial Capital's Spiritual Medicine Division. I don't want to disappoint Grandpa." "All right then, I will protect you." "Yes." The next morning, they arrived at the Spirit Medicine Department. The person in charge of receiving them was a man in his 50s. He was dressed in a black robe, and he held a bottle of medicine in his hand. With a smile he said, "Lin Muyu, Chu Yao, you're finally here. My name is Lu Bin, and I'm responsible for leading you into the Spiritual Medicine Department." Lin Muyu's name had spread far and wide in Silver Fir City. She and Chu Yao had both received an invitation from the Spirit Medicine Division. This was a rare honor for the younger generation of alchemists. Lu Bin glanced at Chu Yao as he led the way. It's been many years since such a young alchemist has entered the Spirit Medicine Division. What a rare sight. The Spirit Medicine Division's workshops are divided into the Herb Gathering Workshop, the Herb Selection Workshop, and the Medicine Refinery Workshop. You two have been assigned to work in the Medicine Refinery Workshop. You'll be in charge of refining and smelting medicine. Your workload isn't too great. You only need to refine 40 bottles of medicine above level 3 every day. Chu Yao nodded and smiled. "Got it. Thank you, Uncle Lu. There's no need to thank me. I'll show you the rooms and the workshop." All right. Entering the alchemy workshop, there were already more than 30 alchemists working there. From the Grandmaster Alchemist to the Master Alchemist, their main products were gold sore medicine, healing medicine, stone skin medicine, and other medicines used in battle. When Lin Muyu and Chu Yao, the two young juniors, entered the workshop, they caused a wave of hissing sounds. These alchemists focused on alchemy and did not pay attention to what was happening outside. They did not even know who Lin Muyu was. Lin Muyu. An alchemist pointed at the workbench on the side and said, "You're an alchemist, right? I have some earth dragon grass and blood ginseng here. Can you help me refine them? I want to refine some level 4 healing potions." Lin Muyu smiled gently. "There's no need for that. I want to finish today's work after I refine 40 bottles of stone skin potion." "What? Stone skin elixir?" Apothecary frowned. "You have the ability to refine the black ironwood's medicinal essence?" Lin Muyu didn't say anything else. She just walked over and picked up a black iron tree that was about a meter tall. Then she opened her hand, and pure true qi surged. The essence condensing hand quickly peeled off the outer shell of the black iron tree. Not long after, tiny grains of the black iron tree's medicinal essence slowly rose up and fell into the medicine tray under his guidance. The entire process didn't even take 10 minutes. Lin Muyu herself was slightly surprised. Presumably, it was because of the increase in her cultivation that the efficiency of the essence condensing hand had also greatly increased. Meanwhile, the surrounding group of alchemists were all stunned. No one could have imagined that such a young boy could actually refine the black iron tree's medicinal essence. Not long after, 40 bottles of stone skin potion were freshly made. Elder Lu, the previous apothecary, pointed at Lin Muyu with a face full of indignation. This boy named Lin Muyu spent less than an hour to refine 40 bottles of stone skin potion. He's obviously cutting corners. I suspect that his potion isn't even grade 7. This will ruin the reputation of our spirit medicine department. These low-grade potions are simply harmful to the military. Lu Bin had always known that the alchemists in the medicine refinery were always fighting openly and covertly. At the same time, he also knew of Lin Muyu's abilities. He raised his eyebrows. "Is that so? Apothecary Wang, go and test the grade of these stone skin potions. What do you think?" "Yes." Apothecary Wang probed a bottle of stone skin potion with his identification stick. In the next moment, his jaw dropped. How? How can this be a grade 1 medicine?" Lu Bin snorted coldly. "As the saying goes, the younger generation will surpass the older. Apothecary Wang, you should learn more from Lin Muyu." Yes, Elder Lu." After Lin Muyu finished her work, she went to Chu Yao's workbench. She saw Chu Yao working hard at refining level 4 healing potions. It was obvious that Chu Yao had also benefited a lot from the God of Medicine's Bible. She was much more adept at refining the potions. The formula was also very scientific. In about an hour, she had refined 47 bottles of healing potions. After the appraiser's verification, they were all between grade 6 and grade 3. This slightly surprised Lin Muyu. It seemed that she had underestimated Sister Chu Yao. The two's residence was very close to the mayor's palace. 10 minutes later, they stopped in front of a house. "We're here," Lu Bin said. Chu Yao was stunned. She stuck out her tongue and asked with a smile, "Did we come to the wrong place? We're just small alchemists. This is the residence of the mayor's palace, right?" Lu Bin smiled faintly. City Lord Huatian is not only the mayor, but also the Grand Elder of Silver Fir City's Spirit Medicine Department. Lin Muyu is widely recognized as a rare talent in the alchemy world. That's why I've arranged such a special residence for you. Please don't be shy. Otherwise, you'll disappoint the mayor. Chu Yao wanted to say more, but Lin Muyu knew that it was useless to say more. She said, "Sister Chu Yao, since you're already here, let's take things as they come. It's not a bad place to live." Then, when night fell, the servants delivered a sumptuous meal. After eating, Chu Yao went back to her room to practice the art of silver needles. Her room was separated from Lin Muyu's by the courtyard. It was not far, but not close either. Lin Muyu, on the other hand, stood in the courtyard and circulated her true qi again and again to use Thunder Strike and Demon Sound Fist. At the same time, she continued to cultivate and strengthen her gourd. When the night grew darker, she took out 4 flying knives and practiced hidden weapons. He knew that he wasn't strong enough. When facing a stronger opponent, He had to use extreme methods, and hidden weapons were one of them. Undercurrents were surging in the city lord's palace. Who knew how many more dangers were waiting for him? Swoosh! The flying knife suddenly flew out, making a fierce sound in the air. Then sparks flew everywhere. It hit the rock of the artificial mountain and went deep, but it didn't fly back. Lin Muyu frowned. The flying knife's biggest weakness wasn't its trajectory, but once it hit the target, it might not come back after the impact. What method could she use to freely control the flying knife? After thinking for a long time, she suddenly had an idea. The flying knife's trajectory depended on the force and air fluctuations. Wasn't her demon sound fist a method that could change the flow of air? Perhaps, the demon sound fist could be combined with hidden weapons. Thinking of this, she immediately began to practice. The first flying knife flew out, and the wind from the fist trembled. The power of the demon sound fist burst out in the air, but it didn't seem to have an obvious effect. The flying knife was struck down because the angle and strength were not enough. After repeated attempts and hundreds of demon sonorous fist strikes, a pung sound rang out in the air, and the flying dagger's trajectory changed. It flew in the opposite direction at the same speed, and pierced into the stone wall. This small success made Lin Muyu extremely happy. The feasibility of using demon sonorous fist with hidden weapons and flying daggers had been proven. Standing proudly in the cold courtyard, Lin Muyu's figure looked even more handsome. He closed his eyes, and his whole body entered a state of clarity. He sensed the flying knife's trajectory, and only relied on his ears to determine the position. Suddenly he punched out. The demon sound fist vibrated, and the flying knife changed direction and flew faster. Then he punched out again, and the flying knife's trajectory was changed again. He seemed to have figured out the relationship between the flying knife's trajectory and the demon sound fist's force, angle, and timing. Just as he was immersed in cultivation, he suddenly heard a soft clapping in the distance. A woman's voice came from the courtyard door. Good martial arts. As expected of the person who defeated the young city lord in 3 moves. Lin Muyu raised her eyebrows and saw a woman dressed in red standing there. Her clothes were very simple, as thin as muslin, accentuating her exquisite and curvaceous figure. Furthermore, as she leaned lightly against the door, she looked even more enchanting and enchanting. You are. My name is Xiang Xiang. She walked forward with a smile. Her steps were as nimble as a cat's. Her beautiful eyes stared straight at Lin Muyu as she smiled and said, I am the maidservant of the Castellan manor. I was ordered by the young Castellan to serve you. Lin Muyu frowned and felt a bit of disgust. Go back and tell Huawan that I don't need her. Is that so? Xiang Xiang's pair of beautiful eyes seemed to be able to read people's minds. She said, the night is long and it is hard to sleep alone. Does young master really not need a woman to sleep beside your pillow? Oh, it must be that woman called Chu Yao, right? Unfortunately, she is young master's senior sister. She probably can't serve beside your bed, right? As she said this, Xiang Xiang walked to the door and pushed it open. She said, no matter what happens to young master, I must sleep on your bed tonight. She looked back and her face was slightly dark. Otherwise, I can't imagine the consequences. What did this mean? Lin Muyu was stunned. Was this the legendary, forcing yourself on the bow? Wasn't this the opposite? At least she should be the one taking the initiative, right? But in fact, this Xiang Xiang, whether it was her figure or her looks, were top-notch. Young City Master Huawan was indeed an expert in choosing women. This point must be admitted. Xiang Xiang leaned on the door and smiled sweetly. Young Master, what is the name of your flying dagger? It doesn't have a name, it's just a hidden weapon. Oh, then what is the name of your skill that can explode through the air? Demon Sound Fist. Hehe. Xiang Xiang pursed her lips and smiled. Although I don't know much about martial arts, I can see that you are using the Demon Sound Fist to change the trajectory of the flying dagger. This way, you can kill people without leaving a trace, right? Yes. Lin Muyu smiled. Xiang Xiang, you were sent by Huawan to spy on me, right? Even if you understand my martial arts, it's useless. I can still easily defeat Huawan. Xiang Xiang lightly raised one of her slender snow-white legs and stroked her knee as she said with a smile, young master is thinking too much. Xiang Xiang is only here to serve young master in bed. As for cultivating, I'm not interested. She lightly nodded and said, if I practiced martial arts, I wouldn't be in this situation. Young master, don't you think so? Of course, Lin Muyu didn't believe her words. He coldly snorted and continued to practice the flying dagger and demon sound fist. Xiang Xiang watched for a while and suddenly yawned. She smiled. Young master, it's late. Xiang Xiang is going to bed. This servant will wait for you on the bed. I won't wear any clothes. If you're tired, come rest. I'll take good care of you. Lin Muyu didn't respond. Xiang Xiang was indeed a beauty, but this was the best way to train his mind. Xiang Xiang cutely yawned again and waved her hand. Young master, this servant is going to sleep. Remember to wake me up when you arrive. Also, since your flying dagger doesn't have a name, why don't I give it a name? The flying dagger controlled by the demon sound fist should be called Demon Sound Blade. Demon Sound Blade? Lin Muyu was slightly startled. What a good name. When he looked again, Xiang Xiang had already gracefully walked to the bed. Chapter 28. Deep into the night, Lin Muyu created the first hidden weapon technique for the magic sonar saber. It was actually very simple. He used the wind and thunder fist force to control the direction of the magic sonar saber. The 4 flying daggers combined to form a spiral of 4 sharp blades. Only a low whistling sound could be heard as they flew in the air. Lin Muyu was indeed an extremely intelligent person. He could already completely control the direction of the magic sonar saber with the magic sonar fist. The only thing he lacked was actual combat. After all, the magic sonar saber was a killing technique. Phew. Tang Wulin took a deep breath. Using the demonic sonorous fist non-stop had drained most of the true qi in his body. And his green gourd was like a spring absorbing the surrounding spiritual energy of heaven and earth to replenish his true qi. This was probably what Chu Chu and the others meant when they said that those without a martial soul weren't suited for cultivation. If they didn't even have a martial soul, then their recovery speed would be far inferior to others. Tang Wulin's martial soul, the green gourd, was already a grade 10 martial soul. Yet it was able to recover so quickly. What about Tang Xiaoxi's firefox? Wouldn't it be able to recover 100% of its strength in an hour or two? But now, Lin Muyu had a headache about the woman in the room. Xiang Xiang was indeed a feast for the eyes, but she was sent by Hua Wan or Hua Tian to serve him. This kind of treatment was like that of a distinguished guest in the Castellan's mansion. But he couldn't stand it. With Xiang Xiang here, all his actions could be seen through by Hua Wan. This was not the result he wanted. He braced himself and entered the room. He divided the demon noise blade into 4 flying knives and put them into the knife bag. He stretched his arms and looked at the bed. Xiang Xiang was lying on her side. Her body was only covered by a thin layer of gauze. The moonlight shone on her body, making her look exceptionally beautiful. Forget it, I'll sleep on the bench. He sighed inwardly and walked to a short and narrow bench. Young master. Xiang Xiang actually didn't fall asleep. She raised her head to look at him and said, I remember Xiang Xiang and young master said that if young master didn't touch me today, Xiang Xiang would definitely suffer a beating. Beating would be a light punishment. Perhaps I would even suffer humiliation from the servants. Humiliated by the servants? Xiang Xiang is just a maid. A smile of success flashed across her face. Xiang Xiang smiled and said, Master has many kinds of punishments for the maids. One is to beat them, and another is to let the maids be enjoyed by the servants. Those servants can wantonly play with the maids' bodies. Does young master want Xiang Xiang to fall to that point? Lin Muyu naturally didn't believe him. She couldn't help but snicker. Then what do you want me to do? Let Xiang Xiang serve you in bed. This is my only mission. No need, I'm used to sleeping alone. Lin Muyu knew that this Xiang Xiang was a beautiful rose. Once she touched her, she would definitely be pricked by the thorns of the rose. Moreover, this was the city lord's mansion, not a place of romance. Chu Ya was less than 50 meters away from her. She shouldn't even think about this kind of thing. However, the more he didn't want to think about it, the worse the situation became. Xiang suddenly stood up. Her dress had already been taken off, only a thin layer of muslin was draped over her. Her slim figure walked over, her pair of jade peaks trembling slightly in front of her chest. Her slender snow-white legs stepped on the carpet step by step. She sat down beside Lin Muyu, her body leaning against his. Immediately, a delicate fragrance wafted into Lin Muyu's nose, causing him to feel a little suffocated. How could a young and vigorous 20-year-old like him resist this kind of temptation? Young master. Xiang's voice carried a hint of bitterness as she said. Xiang knows that the only woman in your heart is your senior sister, Chu Yao. Xiang doesn't ask young master to do anything for me. I only ask young master to give me physical pleasure. Is this not possible? If you don't say it and I don't say it, then everything will be fine. Xiang also knows that young master dislikes my body, but Xiang had no choice. I was sold into the city lord's mansion at the age of 16, and my first time was taken by the young city lord that night. My life doesn't belong to me, so I have no other choice but to meekly accept it. Lin Muyu turned around and left. He stood under the moonlight and looked at her. This woman was indeed as beautiful as water and bright as the moon. He lightly said, "No one's life doesn't belong to them. You are the same." Xiang originally wanted to hug him, but in the end, her hands grabbed nothing but air. Her arms were raised there. She could not help but laugh coldly and said, "Lin Muyu, you look down on me, don't you?" "No, I don't." "Then why are you humiliating me like this?" Her face was flushed with anger, and she said, "That's right, I Xiang am a slut who can be used by anyone. Everything I do is to survive, but what about you? You humiliate me like this. Do you really want me to become a plaything for those servants to vent their lust on?" "I don't." Lin Muyu faintly looked at her and said word by word, "I don't care what your goal is, but you have suffered enough humiliation. Huawan can wantonly occupy your body and humiliate you, but I can't. If I submit to you now, then what difference would there be between me and Huawan? Do not do to others what you do not want to be done to yourself. This is the reason why I rejected you. Moreover, Xiang, are you willing to live like this?" She said with a provocative smile. "Young master's skills in bed are very good. You should find an opportunity to try it. Don't waste such a good man." "It's over." Lin Muyu couldn't explain himself. After explaining for half an hour, he finally made Chu Yao believe that he had nothing to do with this woman. Not long after, a servant brought breakfast and a heavy bag of money. It was 300 Jining coins. This was the money that Huawan lost to Lin Muyu in the martial arts competition. He didn't expect this young city lord to be so trustworthy. They didn't plan to work in the medicine refining workshop in the morning, because the daily work was too simple and easy to complete. Therefore, Lin Muyu carried the heavy bag of money and brought Chu Yao to the market. The market was bustling with people. Chu Yao was in a good mood. She was as happy as a young girl on a trip. She pulled Lin Muyu's hand and walked quickly. She said with a smile, What are we going to buy?" "Where is the place that sells martial arts techniques?" "Oh, the bookstore has them. However, they are all cheap goods. If you want to learn superior martial arts techniques, you must go to the auction house and choose some good ones." "Then let's go to the auction house?" And there were a total of 4 auction houses in the city, and the one Chu Yao brought Lin Muyu to was the largest one. It was called the 100 Battle Trading Company. In fact, the items sold in this auction house were mostly related to cultivators, such as weapons, secret manuals, cultivation pills, cultivation medicines, etc. There was everything one could wish for. When Lin Muyu entered, he couldn't help but feel excited. To him, this was heaven. Over there. Chu Yao held his hand. That place sells martial arts techniques." Walking over to take a look, they saw a middle-aged man around 40 years old selling martial arts techniques. He had the face of a rat, and one look was enough to tell that he wasn't a proper businessman. He said with a smile, "Two little friends, what do you need? Our shop has all kinds of martial arts techniques, including the 4 laws of wind, fire, thunder, and lightning. Also, the treasure of our shop is a remnant of a fist technique passed down by a sacred realm expert. Do you want to take a look?" It's only 5,000 Jin coins. 5,000 Jin coins for a secret manual? Chu Yao's mouth fell open. You might as well rob a bank. The peddler chuckled. Miss, there's something you don't know. A profound martial skill secret manual can allow a cultivator to undergo a heaven-defying transformation. Otherwise, why would so many experts keep their treasures to themselves and not be willing to take out their family's secret manuals? Lin Muyu smiled and asked, Boss, do you have any secret manuals regarding swordsmanship? Yes. The peddler quickly took out 3 books and said, No haggling. 1 basic sword technique, 1 gold kin coin, 1 advanced sword technique, 500 gold kin coins, and the long-lost wind sword technique, 1,200 gold kin coins. Young hero, I can see that you are a talented person and have an extraordinary way of talking. So please don't haggle with me, or else you will be lowering your value. Chapter 29. Expensive. It was just too expensive. A family of 4 only needed 10 gold hub coins for a year, but this sword manual was actually priced at 1,200 gold hub coins. Indeed, in this world, it wasn't about whether you wanted to be strong or not. Sometimes, even if you wanted to be strong, you simply couldn't afford a proper manual. Then give me a basic sword technique. Lin Muyu took out a gold hun coin without hesitation. Other than the lightning slash, he had no other attainments in swordsmanship. It was not a bad idea to buy a basic swordsmanship skill book. The basic swordsmanship skill book reminded him of an ancient game called Legend of Mir 2. It seemed that the first skill a warrior learned was basic swordsmanship skill book, which could increase his accuracy. Now that he saw a real basic swordsmanship skill book in his hands, he was filled with emotions. Chu Yao naturally didn't understand what Lin Muyu was sighing about. The vendor was already holding a light green cover manual. He opened it to the first page and said, Wind Riding Sword Technique, a sword technique that uses the laws of the wind to control the initiative in battle. Young hero, do you really not want one? Lin Muyu only glanced at it. The incantation was sword like thunder, sword like lightning, and he almost couldn't control himself. But he didn't have enough money. What, you don't want it? The vendor grinned. Lin Muyu shook his head. I don't have enough money. Oh, so you're a pauper. Then goodbye. His face changed so quickly. Lin Muyu didn't mind and said with a smile, Sister Chu Yao, let's go take a look at the medicine store. I have 2 bottles of medicine to sell. Okay. The 100 Battles Auction House's medicine store was located on the east side. The 2 arrived a few minutes later. A clerk raised his head and asked with a smile, What do you 2 need? I want to sell 2 bottles of medicine. Oh. The clerk looked at the emblem on his chest in shock and said, Brat, you're from the Spirit Medicine Division, right? A person from the Spirit Medicine Division actually came to the auction house to sell medicine. Do you still have any dignity as a member of the Spirit Medicine Division? You guys collect the medicine and I sell it. It's only right and proper, Lin Muyu said lightly. Do you accept it or not? If you don't, I'll ask your immediate superior. Here, take out your medicine. Lin Muyu reached into the bag on her waist and took out 2 bottles of Dream of Extreme Peaks. She placed them on the counter and said, Let's appraise them. The shop assistant picked up the Peak of Dreams and sniffed it. He was stunned. What kind of medicine is this? Why can't I smell it? Dream of the Peak, level 7 medicine. What? The shop assistant shuddered as if he had seen a ghost. How is that possible? Isn't Dream of the Zenith long lost? At this time, an old alchemist not far away asked, Little San, why are you so surprised? Master, come and take a look. When the old apothecary sniffed the Peak of Dreams, his expression immediately changed. The olfactory stimulation is really the Peak of Dreams. Heavens, how did this medicine appear on the continent again? As he said this, he looked at Lin Muyu. Young man, did you refine this medicine? Yes, I saw the recipe in a broken manual and concocted it. Wait. The old apothecary gave him a deep look and said, If it really is Peak of Dreams, then your reputation will rise. How about this? Follow me to the back hall. I'll go call the manager of the firm. Okay. Chu Yao was a little nervous. Lin Muyu casually led her into the back hall of the auction house. He was very confident in Peak of Dreams. Once this medicine was sold, he would have a large amount of Jin coins to spend. A few minutes later, a man around 40 years old quickly entered the back hall. He wore a very exquisite merchant's attire. He had thick eyebrows and big eyes. With one look, one could tell that he was a very shrewd person. He looked at Lin Muyu and Chu Yao in surprise and said, "Hello, two little friends. I am the boss of the 100 Battle Firm, Lei Baijian. These 2 bottles of Peak of Dreams were refined by you? What's your name?" Lin Muyu. Oh, Lei Baijian's eyes were about to shine. He smiled and said, "So you're that Lin Muyu who defeated young city lord Huawan. Haha, what a coincidence. How did you obtain the recipe for Peak of Dreams?" Lin Muyu casually made up a story. "I found it in a spirit beast nest in the 7 Stars forest. After learning it, it was soaked in the rain on the way back. It's now a pile of fragments. So that's how it is." How shrewd was Lei Baijian. He also knew that Lin Muyu wasn't willing to answer truthfully. He smiled and said, "With our 100 battle firms' wealth and popularity, we can completely raise the price of Peak of Dreams for you. At least 2,000 Jin coins per bottle. However, I have a condition. Young hero Lin needs to come to an agreement with us. If you refine Peak of Dreams again, you need to sell it in our 100 battle firm. How about it?" "What's in it for me?" Lin Muyu asked with a smile. Lei Baijian was also straightforward. He took out a pure white jade token from his chest and said, "This is the 100 battle firm's VIP token. With this token, you can buy anything in the 100 battle firm at a 30% discount. Moreover, you can use this token to overdraft from the treasury up to 2,000 Jin coins. How about it?" I, Lei Baijian, don't want to say anything more. I've already shown my sincerity. Lin Muyu faintly smiled. "Deal." "Good." Lei Baijian was exceptionally happy. "I will announce to the public today. Tomorrow morning at this time, we will publicly auction 2 bottles of Peak of Dreams. 80% of the proceeds will go to Young Hero and 20% to the previous one. How about it? Then you must also promise me one condition. Keep it a secret for me. Don't reveal to the public who these 2 bottles belong to." "Good. Business should be like this. Young hero, don't worry. Leave it to me. Thank you." When he arrived downstairs, he used the VIP token to withdraw 1,000 Jin coins. Afterwards, he went to buy the Imperial Wind Sword Art. At noon, he invited Chu Yao to a nearby restaurant to have a good meal. In the afternoon, he returned to the 100 Spirits medicine store to visit Zhao Xian, Luo Kai, and the others. After leaving behind 10 Jin coins to maintain the medicine store's business, he returned to the Spirit Medicine Division to finish his work and returned to his residence early to cultivate. After practicing a few sets of demonic noise fist, Lin Muyu began to practice his sword arts. The basic sword arts were easy to learn. With his comprehension ability, it didn't even take an hour for him to memorize them. The basic sword arts actually taught the user how to attack, defend, dodge, and other simple routines. Afterwards, he began to practice the Imperial Wind Sword Art. The foundation of this sword art was to control the power of the wind attribute, transforming it into sword chi and storing it in the sword. If he was skilled enough, the power of this sword strike could split mountains and break rocks. When it was almost evening, Lin Muyu suddenly felt a surge of energy in his chest. He had to get it out. Lin Muyu clearly knew that he was about to break through. Unknowingly, he had risen from level 27 to level 29 in a few days of cultivation. He was about to step into the first tier of the Earth realm. If it was someone else, they would have been shocked to death. In fact, Lin Muyu also felt a little suspicious. Why was he advancing so quickly? According to Chu Chu, it was because there was a demon sleeping in his body. Since he wanted to advance, he needed a beast spirit of high quality. It was a little unrealistic to go out of the city to find it, but Lin Muyu's bag contained a spirit stone of a 3,000-year-old bloodthirsty tiger. Refining the spirit stone was equivalent to refining the beast spirit, which saved him a lot of trouble. Thus, he told Chu Yao about it and closed his door to cultivate. Taking out the spirit stone and placing it beside the bed, Lin Muyu sat cross-legged on the bed and silently circulated his qi. The green gourd martial spirit came out of his body, along with the elf female officer Lulu. Lulu's petite figure flapped her wings and flew around Lin Muyu with a smile. She said with a smile, "Congratulations, brother, you're about to level up." Lin Muyu said, "Lulu, where have you been? I haven't felt you sleeping in my body for the past 2 days." Lulu smiled. "Brother, I'm just a body of soul energy. I've been flying around the continent for the past few days, gathering information. How else could I help you?" "Then can you help me see what materials I need to refine this bloodthirsty tiger spirit stone?" Lulu looked at it and said, "I don't need any materials, just directly refine it. This spirit stone contains an extremely powerful bloodthirsty spirit energy. It should be able to provide the gourd with the ability to absorb energy, but I don't know what it is exactly." Lin Muyu closed his eyes and began to focus on refining the spirit stone. The cauldron appeared, and the moment the bloodthirsty tiger's spirit stone fell into it, the cauldron began to tremble violently. The green gourd absorbed the spirit stone's energy in a frenzy, and the spirit stone began to break down bit by bit under the frenzied refinement. Countless strands of energy flowed into Lin Muyu's body, and was absorbed by him for his own use. This process lasted for nearly an hour. When Lin Muyu slowly opened his eyes, he could see things more clearly, and the energy in his body had to be released. He opened his hand, and true energy flowed out of his body, forming an air shield with a hum. This was the skill of the first layer of the Earth realm, Shield Qi, an ability that could greatly increase a person's defense. When Lin Muyu looked inside his Yi, he could see spikes of thorns growing out of the gourd vines. Lulu flew beside him and said, "This skill can be called thorns. If you're pierced by the thorns, you'll be in serious trouble." "What's the big deal?" Lin Muyu was a little displeased. This skill was somewhat disappointing. Lulu smiled. "Because the thorns contain the bloodthirsty energy of the bloodthirsty tiger. Once you're pierced, your true energy will leak out like crazy. So that's how it is." This was more satisfactory. Standing up, Lin Muyu clenched his fist and gathered strength. Immediately, a powerful force lingered around his fist. This force was far stronger than before. It seemed like he had already stepped into the level 30 War Master, but he had never gone to the Holy Hall to verify it. Otherwise, he would have been able to receive a lot of gold coins every month to subsidize his family. At this moment, a knock came from the door. Xiang Xiang, the little demoness, appeared again. "Young master, Xiang Xiang has brought you and Miss Chu Yao dinner." Chapter 30. Xiang Xiang's arrival gave Lin Muyu a headache, and she had to stay for dinner today. 2 maids followed behind Xiang Xiang, each holding a tray with a cauldron filled with dishes. These cauldrons were made of silver, and were called silver cauldrons. There were 5 cauldrons of dishes, including meat and vegetables, and 2 pots of wine. Chu Yao was secretly speechless. Silver cauldrons were special containers for nobles. Ordinary people mostly used copper cauldrons, while emperors used gold cauldrons. There was a way of eating in the empire called eating with bells and ringing cauldrons. The rich and powerful would play music and eat in the cauldrons. The cauldron was a type of cooking utensil, and in fact it was very similar to a cauldron. Of course, Chu Yao had never seen such a scene. Even the 5 cauldrons in front of her were rare. The treatment given to her and Lin Muyu by the city lord's mansion was too high. "Young master, this wine is a fine brew from the city lord's mansion. It is only served to important guests. You mustn't miss it." During the meal, Xiang Xiang knelt on the carpet and smiled as she poured wine for Lin Muyu. After toasting him several times, she suddenly asked, "Young master, I heard that you are a new legend in the field of alchemy. At such a young age, you can already refine level 5 and even level 6 medicines. It is said that your alchemy skills came from an ancient book called God of Medicine Canon. Is this true?" Hearing this, Lin Muyu couldn't help but feel a chill in her heart. It's finally here. There's no reason for the city lord's mansion to support me and Chu Yao. After all, Hua Tian and Hua Wan want something from me. What God of Medicine Canon? I don't know. he indifferently said. Although Lin Muyu was arrogant, she also knew how to hide her strength. She also knew that a man's wealth would arouse his wrath. Xiang giggled and said, "Young master must be joking. It is said that the eldest disciple of the 100 Spirits medicine store, Wang Ying, once said that the 100 Spirits medicine store had obtained a god of medicine canon. Otherwise, young master and your master Chu Feng wouldn't have advanced so quickly in alchemy." Lin Muyu smiled and said, "Perhaps there is, but I don't know." Xiang nodded and said, "I see." Chu Yao furrowed her brows and said, Xiang, did the young city lord send you to probe us?" "No, what are you talking about, Miss Chu Yao?" Xiang still had a seductive smile on her face. "It's just that there are rumors about young noble Lin Muyu in the streets, so Xiang asked out of curiosity. Since young noble doesn't know what the divine alchemy canon is, then I won't ask anymore. Come, young noble, Xiang offers you another toast." After eating and drinking to her heart's content, Lin Muyu continued to cultivate. While practicing her swordsmanship, demonic sonorous fist, and demonic sonorous saber, she also cultivated the Qi shield. This was a skill unique to the first stage of the Earth realm. The Qi shield could protect her at any time, and it was also a necessary survival skill. Chu Yao did not go to bed early today. Instead, she accompanied Lin Muyu to cultivate in the courtyard. She cultivated the silver needle technique. Do. 3 silver needles silently shot into the wooden board. Chu Yao smiled in satisfaction and walked forward to pull out the silver needles one by one. Lin Muyu watched from the side and said, "This kind of strength can be used to treat people with acupuncture, but it's not enough to kill people. It might not even be able to break the Qi shield of an Earth realm expert." Chu Yao nodded. "Yes, I know." As she spoke, she took out 2 daggers and activated her true Qi. Waves of Qi appeared on the tips of the daggers. She smiled and said, "You come and spar with senior sister. I know you're very strong now, but senior sister doesn't know how strong you are." "Okay." Lin Muyu stretched out her hand and pulled out the steel sword beside her. She smiled and said, "Sister Chu Yao, you can attack." Chu Yao's lips curled up and she quickly closed in. Her daggers struck twice in a row, attacking from the left and right. The sweeping momentum was awe-inspiring, but Lin Muyu's reaction speed was faster. With 2 clangs, she used her steel sword to parry the attacks. She didn't hold back and pressed forward with a fierce lightning strike. She used about 40% of her strength and didn't use her full strength. How could Chu Yao have thought that Lin Muyu's speed would be this fast? She hastily used her daggers to block the attack. With a loud pung sound, her arms felt numb. She groaned and took a few steps back. Her eyes widened as she said, "Wow, your strength is so strong now. Senior sister can't even block one of your attacks." Lin Muyu's eyes widened. Lin Muyu faintly smiled and said, "Big sis Chu Yao, your physical strength is a bit lacking, and the growth of your purple marten martial spirit is also a bit weak. More importantly, your speed isn't fast enough. Before you even hit your opponent's weak point, you've already revealed an opening. I actually have a way to increase your speed." "Yes, what is it? Teach me quickly." Chu Yao was a little excited. Lin Muyu said, "Comprehend the lightning element in the air and condense it into a weapon to attack at high speed. This will make your attacks much more efficient." "This is..." Chu Yao's eyes lit up. "This is the lightning strike that Flame Chu taught you?" "Oh no." Lin Muyu shook her head. "The lightning strike is too fast. You won't be able to learn it at your current level, so I won't teach you the silent lightning strike. I will only teach you how to control the lightning element. Moreover, I promised Chu that I won't teach anyone else the martial skills he taught me." Yes. Chu Yao was a considerate girl. She began to learn how to control the lightning element. Xiang leaned against the tree and said with a smile, "Fire Cauldron Chu actually taught you so many martial techniques. This is really rare. I heard that Fire Cauldron Chu was very proud all his life. He never taught anyone the essence of martial techniques." Lin Muyu secretly laughed. If she didn't give him high-rank alchemy in exchange, the old man wouldn't have taught her the demon note fist and green rock armor. In fact, Lin Muyu really wanted to use the treasure cauldron to refine Chu Yao's martial soul, but he didn't know the feasibility of this. If it didn't work, it might even harm Chu Yao. Chu Yao's purple marten's growth was too slow. It didn't even have 30% of his green gourd. This was the main reason why Chu Yao was so weak. He could only take it slow. When the time was right, he would naturally help Chu Yao increase her strength. He cultivated until midnight, and then went back to his room to sleep. But Xiang Xiang insisted on staying to serve him, so he had no choice but to let her stay. Xiang Xiang slept on the bed while Lin Muyu slept on the bench. After cultivating for a whole day, he fell into a deep sleep. Just as he was sleeping soundly, a violent knock came from the door. Young hero Lin, Miss Chu, something bad has happened. What happened? Lin Muyu got up and ran to the door. When he opened the door, he saw a guard panting. Quick, go to the front hall of the city lord's mansion. Something bad has happened. Our team heading to the imperial capital was ambushed by wandering mercenaries. Many people died and all the goods were lost. Your 100 spirits medicine shop master, Elder Chu Feng, also died from his injuries. Chu Feng was dead. Lin Muyu's mind went blank. Chu Yao, who was behind him, was pale. She murmured, "How can this be? It must be a lie. Grandpa will be fine. Grandpa will be fine." Torches were flickering in the hall of the city lord's mansion. At least 1,000 soldiers had surrounded the mansion. Hua Tian had mobilized many soldiers. Something had indeed happened. A few of the carriages were stained with blood. Lin Muyu recognized that these were the carriages of the convoy that Chu Feng had traveled with. These carriages were originally loaded with some special products and gifts for the royal family of Lanyan City. But now, they were piled with bloody corpses. The blood on many of the corpses had already coagulated into bloodstains. Chu Feng's peaceful face was revealed when the gray cloth was lifted. His chest had been pierced through the heart by a sharp blade. He had been dead for a long time. Looking at Chu Feng's corpse, Chu Yao burst into tears. She lay on top of his corpse and wailed. Chu Feng had raised her since she was a child. Her only relative had passed away just like that. Chu Yao felt as if the entire world was about to collapse. Lin Muyu clenched his fists and stood at the side. He did not comfort Chu Yao. At this time, he should let her suffer. Otherwise, Chu Yao's emotions would completely collapse. Standing up, Lin Muyu looked at the group of soldiers around her. Many of them were injured. City Lord Hua Tian raised his iron blade, his eyes filled with killing intent. He said angrily, "Chu Feng is an elder of the Spirit Medicine Division. Why is he separated from us forever?" What the hell happened? The general Ning Daorong supported himself with his spear. His face was pale, and the armor in front of his chest had been pierced by 2 arrows. Fresh blood flowed out as he suddenly knelt on the ground and said, "City Lord, we've already done our best, but we were ambushed by a group of wandering mercenaries when we were passing through the Razor Gorge. There was a battle saint level expert among them, and I wasn't his match. I was seriously injured and could only watch helplessly as Elder Chu Feng was killed and the goods were stolen. Please punish us, City Lord." "You." Hua Tian clenched his teeth and suddenly pulled out his sword and placed it against Ning Daorong's neck. He shouted angrily, "General Ning, don't think that I dare not kill you. This is your crime of dereliction of duty. You caused the death of a pillar of the empire." Ning Daorong murmured, "City Lord, I have no regrets dying by your sword. I have failed the empire and Silver Fur City." But the injured soldiers all knelt down and begged for mercy. Hua Tian sighed. Fine, this is all fate. Ning Daorong, I will deduct 2 years of your rations and demote you by 1 rank. Do you have any objections?" "This general has no objections." Hua Tian walked over and placed a hand on Lin Muyu's shoulder. His eyes were deep as he said, "Child, Silver Fur City is responsible for Elder Chu Feng's death. Don't be too sad. I will do my best to satisfy your and Chu Yao's needs in the future. Don't worry, Silver Fur City and the Spirit Medicine Division will not abandon you." Lin Muyu's eyes were somewhat red as she said, "I understand. Thank you, City Lord." He turned around and crouched down to hug Chu Yao's shoulder from behind. Then he reached out to open the wound on Chu Feng's chest. The wound was shaped like a triangular cone. and it was likely that the strike had come from a special weapon. Sister Chu Yao, don't be too sad. Please bury Grandpa Chu Feng as soon as possible. Chapter 31. That night, Chu Yao stayed by Chu Feng's morning hall, crying nonstop. Wang Ying, Luo Kai, and the other disciples had already prepared the coffin for the burial. Chu Yao's eyes were red and swollen. Lin Muyu's heart ached at the sight, but she didn't know how to comfort her. It seemed that Chu Yao didn't need consolation. When the first ray of sunlight shone into the morning hall, Chu Yao pulled out the dagger at her waist and bit a lock of hair. The dagger flashed, and a strand of hair fell to the ground. Sister Chu Yao, what are you doing? Lin Muyu asked in astonishment. Chu Yao didn't speak. Tears rolled down her face as she looked at Lin Muyu. She didn't stop. She cut off strand after strand of hair, until only a short hair was left. She looked at her tearfully and said, "You grandpa is gone. I finally know how to be strong." Lin Muyu was stunned. For an entire morning, Chu Feng was buried at the edge of the Seven Stars Forest. A living person had passed away just like that. In the afternoon, after sending Chu Yao back to the Spirit Medicine Division, Lin Muyu immediately went to the 100 Battles trading firm to look for Lei Baijian. Lei Baijian didn't know about Chu Feng's death. He was excited when he saw Lin Muyu. He laughed and said, "Young hero Lin, you'd never know that 2 bottles of Dream of Extreme Peaks were sold for 4,400 and 4,700 Jin coins respectively. This is such a profit. Come, follow me to the back hall to settle the bill." "Boss Lei." Lin Muyu's voice was calm. "I want to ask for someone." "Oh, who is it? Who's the most well-informed person in Silver Fir City?" "This." Lei Baijian pondered for a moment. "The most well-informed and quick-witted person? It should be that brat Situ Hao." "Oh right. What do you need someone like that for?" "I'll just find him." "And okay." For Lei Baijian, Lin Muyu was a cash cow. Naturally, he would grant her every request. Not long after, a young man around 20 years old appeared in the back hall. It was the Situ Hao that Lei Baijian had mentioned. He had a smile on his face. "Young hero Lin, what business do you have with me?" "Just follow me." "All right." After leaving the 100 War Merchant Guild, Lin Muyu turned around and gave him 20 gold coins. She asked, "You should be very familiar with Ning Daorong, right?" "General Ning." Situ Hao laughed. "Of course we are. Other than the city lord, General Ning is the person with the most military power in Silver Fir City. He has 2,000 imperial soldiers under his command." "What are Ning Daorong's usual habits?" "It's just a habit. As a general, it's nothing more than drinking, visiting brothels and so on. By the way, General Ning has a lover in the Spring Pavilion in the western part of the city. Her name is Ruan Ruyu, and she is one of the top courtesans in the city. Generally, when there is nothing to do, General Ning will go to Ruan Ruyu's boudoir for the night." "Where is Ruan Ruyu's boudoir?" "On the top floor of the Spring Pavilion. There is only one room, and that is Ruan Ruyu's boudoir." "Amen." Lin Muyu patted his shoulder and said, "Situ Hao, thank you. Here is the other 30 gold coins. Perhaps I will continue to ask you to work for me. Don't worry, as long as you follow me, I won't let you suffer any losses." Situ Hao's eyes lit up at the sight of money and nodded repeatedly. Yes. Don't worry, young hero Lin. Don't worry about me." "All right, then find a few experts to protect Chu Yao of the Spirit Medicine Division. Is that all right?" "Mercenaries are fine. I can find 2 who are at the first level of Earth Realm above level 30. The commission will be 20 gold coins per day. Is that all right?" "Sure. Find a few more, and have them guard the courtyard from afar. They just need to make sure no one hurts Chu Yao." "Yes." It was late at night in the Spring Pavilion. The lights gradually dimmed, and the sounds of sex could be heard from the rooms. While they were enjoying themselves, a figure flew past the attic and landed lightly on the top floor of the Spring Pavilion like a falling leaf. Lin Muyu hugged his steel sword and closed his eyes. He could vaguely hear Ruan Ruyu's moans and Ning Daorong's heavy panting in the room. How could a person who had just been injured by an arrow have the energy to stay here for even a moment? In an instant, Lin Muyu's thoughts were confirmed once again. He leaped up lightly, climbed through the window, and silently landed on the floor. His footsteps were very light. This was the mystery of falling star steps. He looked into the distance and saw 4 soldiers standing guard outside the door. The starlight shone on their figures outside the window, and Ning Daorong was lying on the woman's body, enjoying himself to the fullest. Wan Ryu panted and moaned in pleasure. By the side, Ning Daorong's 3-edged spear was there. As a martial artist, his weapon never left his side. Lin Muyu walked over slowly and drew his sword. The sound of the steel sword rubbing against the scabbard was very soft, but Ning Daorong still heard it. He quickly turned around and growled, "Who is it?" "It's me," Lin Muyu said faintly. Amidst Wan Ryu's screams, Lin Muyu leaped up and slashed out with her sword. The speed of the falling star steps and thunderclap slash was simply too fast. Ning Daorong didn't even have time to circulate his energy to defend before he was struck. His right arm was severed from the middle and fresh blood splattered everywhere. His white bones were clearly visible, but he was still a man. He only growled, "Lin Muyu, are you crazy? Why did you sneak attack this general?" Lin Muyu said indifferently, "My master Chu Feng was pierced through the heart by this spear of yours, wasn't he? Unfortunately, you didn't destroy the wound. Instead, you disguised a few arrows in front of your chest." Who would have thought that the other corpses had dried up for almost a day, but your arrows were still there? Speaking of which, you're really an arrogant idiot. Moreover, look down at your chest. Where did the wound come from? Bastard, you killed my grandpa Chu Feng. Do you think you can get away with this? Today, I'll make you pay with your blood." Ning Daorong roared. "This general is the general of Silver Fir City. You dare kill me? Men, kill this assassin for me." Outside the room, several personal guards rammed open the door, but Lin Muyu was even faster. She opened her left hand and unleashed her green gourd martial soul. Gourd vines pierced through the floor and wrapped around the 4 guards. At the same time, her demonic noise saber whistled through the air and pierced through the gourd vines. The 4 guards were all killed without exception. Ning Daorong turned pale with fright. These guards were all at the 2nd level of the human realm, but this brat had killed them all in an instant. Just how terrifying was his cultivation? But Ning Daorong was, after all, a level 44 battle sovereign. He stood up and grabbed the spear with his bare left hand. With a roar, his martial spirit emerged from his body in the form of a fierce tiger. It looked quite fierce. Flames ignited on the spear as he launched an all-out attack with a low roar. The spear swallowed over like a fiery serpent. Lin Muyu appeared even calmer. With a single thought, the green gourd spirit condensed in front of her chest. Immediately after, a layer of fiery red-black tortoise shell appeared as a defense. With a bang, she forced Ning Daorong back. Although she felt intense pain from the recoil, Lin Muyu had already sensed that Ning Daorong's strength had decreased sharply after losing an arm. He was no longer her match. She suddenly activated the fallen star steps and appeared on Ning Daorong's left side. She raised her sword with both hands and the wind and lightning fluctuated. Another lightning strike slashed through Ning Daorong's condensed chi shield. The blade landed on his left arm, and even cut off a large piece of flesh, causing him to howl in pain. Lin Muyu let out a low roar and punched out with her left fist. She had used all her strength. Bang! The demonic sound fist struck through the air. Ning Daorong let out a muffled groan as his internal organs were all shattered. He died on the spot. Wan Ryu looked at Ning Daorong's corpse and shook her head repeatedly. She said to Lin Muyu, "Don't kill me, don't kill me. I don't know anything." "You can't kill me," Lin Muyu frowned and said. "If I don't kill you, you will definitely betray me. Come drink this." "What is it?" Without waiting for Wan Ryu to say anything, Lin Muyu directly forced her to drink a bottle of Dream Return to Extreme Peak. This would make her sleep for at least 3 days. It could be considered sparing her life. She grabbed Ning Daorong's 3-pointed spear and leapt off the roof of the spring pavilion, heading straight for the city lord's mansion. When she entered the mansion at daybreak, there were indeed a few mercenaries guarding the door. It seemed that the Jining coins were quite useful. Lin Muyu hurriedly rushed into the courtyard and pushed open the door to Chu Yao's room. She found that her eyes were red and she still hadn't slept. Her mind was already extremely weak. She said softly, Why are you? Let's go." Lin Muyu grabbed her hand and led her out the door. "Where are we going?" "100 Spirits Medicine Hall." "What for?" "Call the brothers out of the city. This place is no longer suitable for them to live in." "Why?" "Grandfather was killed by Ning Daorong." "What?" Chu Yao was instantly shocked. How is that possible? Ning Daorong is the city's general. Why would he kill grandfather? Why would he do that?" Lin Muyu said calmly. "Because the city lord, Hua Tian, wanted the god of medicine codex, so he killed grandfather. Ning Daorong was seriously injured last night, but there was no wound on his chest. Grandfather's fatal wound was in the shape of a 3-pointed spear. It was this spear in my hand that killed grandfather. And this 3-pointed spear was Ning Daorong's weapon." Chu Yao was also a smart girl. She instantly understood everything. She clenched her teeth and said, "I want to kill Ning Daorong." "I've already killed him, let's go." When they arrived at the 100 Spirits Medicine Hall, they found that it was in chaos. The place was on fire. Lin Muyu rushed into the sea of fire with the green gourd martial spirit, only to find that the ground was covered with corpses. Wang Ying, Zhao Exai and Luo Kai, and the others were all lying in a pool of blood. This place had been bathed in blood. Feeling a sharp pain in her heart, Lin Muyu suddenly punched the wall, blaming herself. Why didn't she think that Hua Tian would attack the 100 Spirits Medicine Hall? The reason why he asked Xiangxiang to find out where the God of Medicine Codex was meant that they couldn't find the God of Medicine Codex on Chu Feng, so they would definitely look for it in the 100 Spirits Medicine Hall. Eldest brother Wang Ying, junior brother Luo Kai. Looking at the corpses on the ground, Chu Yao tears rolled down her cheeks again. However, at this moment, the sound of hooves came from outside, and someone was shouting, "Lin Muyu killed General Ning. She is now a fugitive of the Empire. Don't let her get lost, Lin Muyu and Chu Yao. Don't let any of them go." Chapter 32. Let's go through the back door. Kicking open the bloody back door, Lin Muyu grabbed Chu Yao and flew out, only to see that the city streets were filled with armored cavalry. City Lord Hua Tian moved really fast. The city was most likely surrounded by soldiers already. If they didn't take advantage of the chaos to escape, Silver First City would definitely become his and Chu Yao's grave. They chose to go through alleyways and quickly weaved through the chaotic crowd. However, when they arrived at the city gate, they discovered that a group of guards was closing the city gate. However, an ox cart was halfway through the gate when its wheels collapsed, and the cart was filled with heavy sacks of grain. This was a great help, but it was a pity that the city walls were filled with soldiers, many of them holding longbows in their hands with arrows already nocked. "We can't leave," Chu Yao said through clenched teeth. "No, we have to go." Lin Muyu grabbed Chu Yao's hand tightly and said, "Come with me. Don't hesitate or retreat." Amen. The two of them rushed out at high speed. The guards didn't even have time to react before Lin Muyu and Chu Yao flashed past like lightning and rushed out the moment the gates were about to close. "Those two are the felons of the Empire, Lin Muyu and Chu Yao. Kill them immediately." A familiar angry roar came from the city walls. It was City Lord Hua Tian. Hua Wan was standing next to his father with a cold smile on his face. The bows on the city walls shot out arrows one after another. Lin Muyu shouted as she ran. The green gourd emerged from her body and formed a 2-meter-tall mystic tortoise shell behind her. Pung, pung, pung. The mystic tortoise shell deflected the arrows. The defense of the mystic tortoise shell was indeed unparalleled. "Traitor, you still want to leave?" Hua Wan suddenly pulled out his long sword and jumped off the city wall. He landed on a warhorse and pointed his sword forward. He shouted, "Iron Cavalry Camp, follow me and kill Lin Muyu." Hua Tian shouted from the city walls, "Wanner, stop! You don't need to do it yourself if you want to keep them here. Men, bring that lowly servant to me." Two cavalrymen dragged a woman up the city wall. It was Xiang Xiang. At this time, Xiang Xiang's face was covered in bruises, and there were even whip marks on her chest and arms. She was covered in blood. Infuriated, Lin Muyu pointed at Hua Tian, who was standing on the city wall, and bellowed, "Hua Tian, you son of a bitch! If you have a problem, come at me. Why are you torturing a maidservant like this?" Hua Tian smiled faintly and said, "Lin Muyu, I know that Xiang Xiang has given her body to you. She's your woman. If you're a man, you'd better surrender. Otherwise, this 20-meter-tall city wall will be the place where she dies." Lin Muyu held Chu Yao's hand tightly. It was impossible for him to give up Chu Yao to save Xiang Xiang. Looking at the hesitant Lin Muyu below the city walls, Xiang Xiang's tears rolled down her cheeks. Her body trembled slightly as she cried, "Young master, you still don't believe me even now, right? You still don't believe that Xiang Xiang is willing to do anything for you, right?" Lin Muyu clenched her teeth and said, "Xiang Xiang." Xiang Xiang laughed, but it was a very sad laugh. "Young master, Xiang Xiang's body is not clean anymore. I'm not good enough for you. But just like you said, Xiang Xiang should choose her own life." Hua Tian said angrily, "You bitch, what nonsense are you talking about? You're a maidservant of the city lord's mansion. When did you get to choose your life? Men tear off her clothes. I'd like to see how she chooses her own fate." A guard stepped forward and grabbed Xiang Xiang. Rip! The clothes on her upper body were torn to shreds. Xiang Xiang remained silent. When her clothes were completely torn to shreds and she was completely naked, she slowly lowered her body and picked up the pieces of cloth to cover her breasts. Although her movements were slow, those pieces of cloth seemed to be her last shred of dignity. She would rather give up everything than give up her dignity. "I was born free." Xiang Xiang looked at Hua Tian. There was no longer any fear in her eyes, and her voice was full of calmness. She slowly approached the city walls and suddenly smiled. In an extremely gentle voice, she said to Lin Muyu, "Young master once said that dignity is worth fighting for at the cost of one's life. Young master, if you don't believe me, then I will prove it to you." Hua Tian's cold eyes fell on her. He knew that this kind of woman was afraid of death. In order to live, she could sell her body. She had given her virginity to him in order to survive, which proved everything. However, under Hua Tian's gaze, this weak woman jumped up like a meteor and shattered into pieces. Her young life was gone in the blink of an eye. Looking at Xiang Xiang lying in a pool of blood under the city walls, Hua Tian was shocked. Soon his shame turned into anger. He shouted in a low voice, "Men, drag this woman's body back and feed it to the dogs." Outside the city walls, Hua Wan had already charged over with his long sword in hand. Lin Muyu stared at Xiang Xiang's body from afar. He suddenly froze in place, feeling as if his heart had been pierced by 1,000 arrows. He slowly turned around and said to Chu Yao, "Sister Chu Yao, run into the 7 Stars forest quickly. I'll catch up to you in a moment. You'll only be a burden if you stay here." Chu Yao knew that he was speaking the truth. Her strength was far, far inferior to his. "Amen. Come here quickly." Drops of rain fell from the sky. She ran madly through the rain towards the 7 Stars forest. She didn't know if it was because of the rain or her tears. She knew that Lin Muyu wanted to take revenge for Xiang Xiang, but she couldn't stop him. She could only pray for him from the bottom of her heart. The charging power of a cavalry was terrifying, especially the armored cavalrymen of the prefectural army. Their charging power was even more frightening. Lin Muyu didn't move an inch. When Hua Wan's warhorse was only 10 meters away from him, he abruptly raised his fist and exploded in the air. Hua Wan's warhorse was immediately frightened and knelt to the ground with a long neigh, throwing the young city lord off his horse. Hua Wan's skills were also extraordinary. When he fell off his horse, he stepped into the air and exerted strength. His long sword carried the full power of his thunder all-martial soul, and he swung it at Lin Muyu. Whoosh! Stepping on the rain-soaked grass, Lin Muyu immediately activated the falling star steps. Hua Wan's attack also landed heavily on the ground. His attack was far too clumsy compared to Lin Muyu's. Both of them were at the first level of the Earth realm, but the true difference in strength was astonishing. Bang! Lin Muyu's elbow struck the back of his opponent. His longsword flashed like lightning, shattering the opponent's energy shield and tearing a bloody wound in Hua Wan's abdomen. Ah! Hua Wan roared and swung his sword in a circle. However, he did not manage to hit Lin Muyu. He panted heavily as rainwater flowed down his cheeks. Just as he was about to move, he felt a cold blade on his neck from behind. "Kneel." Lin Muyu's icy voice sounded. Hua-Wan couldn't help but kneel on the ground when he felt a heavy blow on the back of his knee. He looked up at his father on the city wall, his eyes filled with disbelief. "Father," Hua Tian's head exploded. He never thought that his son would be so weak. "Let go of the young lord, and I'll spare your life." Hua Tian roared and rushed down the city wall. He was a level 47 battle venerable. Holding a long spear in his hand, he roared angrily, "Lin Muyu, you're just a lowly commoner. If you kill a noble, your whole family will be implicated. Let go of my son, and I'll let bygones be bygones. I'll let you and Chu Yao go." The rain was getting heavier and heavier. Lin Muyu's eyelashes were already covered with rainwater, but her eyes were filled with coldness. She suddenly laughed and said, "Let us go? Hua Tian, you'll die here today. Do you know that?" Hua Tian roared. "Who do you think you are? You want to kill me? You're too arrogant, you little bastard." Lin Muyu gently pulled the long sword, and with a crack, the main artery in Hua-Wan's neck was cut. Blood spurted out, and Hua-Wan immediately knelt on the ground. He covered the wound with his hands, but it was impossible. Blood mixed with rainwater and splashed everywhere. Hua-Wan's life was rapidly drained, and in the blink of an eye, he became a corpse lying on the ground. Hua Tian seemed to have turned into a wild beast. His whole body was covered with lightning bolts, and he pounced on Lin Muyu. "Arrogant little bastard, I'm going to kill you." Arrogant. Lin Muyu was arrogant, but he was not reckless. Judging from Hua Tian's momentum, he knew that he couldn't fight him head-on. He spun his feet and took a few steps back. He waved his long sword and activated the wind symbol formula of the wind-riding sword art. His body was wrapped in an invisible gust of wind as he dashed towards his opponent and launched a lightning strike. However, Hua Tian's speed was not inferior to Lin Muyu's. With a flick of his long spear, he actually parried the thunder strike with a loud clang. Hua Tian leaped into the air and kicked the thunder hammer out of his foot, hitting Lin Muyu's black tortoiseshell with a loud bang. Seeing this, Hua Tian let out a cold harumph and thrust his long spear forward like a poisonous snake. With a puff sound, a flower of blood blossomed on Lin Muyu's shoulder. With one sword strike and one kick, Lin Muyu was sent rolling in the mud. This defeat was too quick and too miserable. Break! Hua Tian suddenly stomped on the ground. Immediately, an invisible force broke the ground and twisted the furious thunder. Lin Muyu didn't dare to take it head-on. He hastily moved sideways and tried to grab it. However, he was still burned by the thunder, and his wounds were bleeding profusely. After gaining the upper hand, Hua Tian attacked again and again. In less than a few minutes, at least 7 or 8 wounds had appeared on Lin Muyu's body. Swoosh! A green vine broke out of the ground and directly wrapped around Hua Tian's right leg. The thorns on the green vine were so sharp that they directly pierced through his skin. "What's that?" Hua Tian disdainfully chopped off the green vine. But he didn't know that his true qi was rapidly flowing out of his wound. Lin Muyu only defended and didn't attack. She used the green rock armor and the black tortoise shell to defend against Hua Tian's continuous attacks. Hua Tian had the upper hand. Hundreds of cavalrymen around him didn't make a move. They were all waiting for the city lord to personally kill the fugitive to avenge his son. Finally, after a long time, Hua Tian's aura became chaotic. Although Lin Muyu was covered in wounds, she still held on with her strong willpower. She swung her left fist horizontally and launched a demon noise punch. It was time to counterattack. Bang! The demon noise punch landed on Hua Tian's chest, but it only hit the qi shield. Since Hua Tian's true qi was far stronger than his son's, the demon noise punch naturally wouldn't penetrate his internal organs so easily. It's just a small trick. It's not worth mentioning. While Hua Tian was cursing, Lin Muyu suddenly stretched out her hand behind her. In the next moment, 4 flying daggers merged into a 4-edged flying wheel and swept out. The demon noise saber had launched a surprise attack. Clang! Hua Tian abruptly swept away the demon noise saber with the tip of his spear and cursed. Hidden weapon? You despicable little bastard. Do you think you can defeat me with hidden weapons? Lin Muyu didn't say anything. She raised her sword and launched a lightning strike. Then, she raised her left hand and launched 2 demon noise punches. Bang! Bang! Hua Tian's qi and blood surged under the continuous attacks. However, he was still as powerful as before. He launched a lightning cone attack and sent Lin Muyu flying back dozens of meters while vomiting blood. Holding the long spear in his hand, Hua Tian sneered and said, "Who do you think you are to fight me? I'm going to cut you into 1,000,000 pieces for killing my son." At this moment, the corner of Lin Muyu's mouth curled up into a smile. What? Hua Tian cursed inwardly. Suddenly, a whistling sound came from behind his head. Before he could react, the demon noise saber swept across the air with a loud crack. Lin Muyu leaped up and caught the flying dagger, disassembled it, and put it into the luggage bag tied around her waist. Hua Tian stood there in silence. The group of guards were also dumbfounded. In their eyes, the city lord's head finally slid down slowly. Chapter 33. Wild Goose Formation. In a cavalry battle, the wild goose formation was the most suitable method to deal with a small number of enemies. Once trapped in the wild goose formation, even a god wouldn't be able to escape. Lin Muyu strode forward and flipped open Hua Tian's clothes. Sure enough, there was an ancient book hidden inside. It was the Divine Alchemy Codex. It was stained with blood, but she couldn't tell if it belonged to Hua Tian or someone from the same sect. She quickly stuffed the Divine Alchemy Codex into her clothes, grabbed Hua Tian's spear, and took a few steps back. Hit! With a furious roar, the spear flew out like an arrow and pierced through the chest of one of the cavalrymen at the front. The cavalryman and his horse fell to the ground and rolled on the ground, leaving a trail of mud behind them. However, at that moment, the 2 cavalrymen on the flanks began to close their formation. 2 cavalrymen, one on the left and one on the right, raised their sabers and slashed at Lin Muyu. Lin Muyu could only see the ferocious expressions on the 2 cavalrymen's faces. With the speed of the long sabers, the force behind the charge of the cavalryman was obviously not weak. In the nick of time, Lin Muyu raised her arm and summoned her martial soul, the black tortoise shell. Bang! The huge impact wreaked havoc in her arms, sending Lin Muyu flying with her sword into the mud. Her arms were numb, but the 2 cavalrymen were not much better off. They were knocked off their horses by the mystic tortoise shell, and were trampled to death by the cavalrymen behind them. Their screams were heart-wrenching. Just as Lin Muyu got up, she felt a burning pain in her shoulder. One of the cavalrymen had pierced her arm with a spear. She swung her sword horizontally, but the handle of the spear was made of wood. Crack! Lin Muyu let out a low roar and released her martial soul again. With a swoosh, several gourd vines burst out of the ground and wrapped around the cavalryman. Taking advantage of the situation, Lin Muyu punched the cavalryman with her left fist. The demonic sound fist shattered the cavalryman's internal organs. Pa pa pa! Stepping on the mud, Lin Muyu's arm was already completely red. The rainwater had seeped into his wound, causing a burning pain. Lin Muyu quickly retreated a few steps with his steel sword in hand. He increased the speed of his falling star steps. He had to leave, otherwise, he would definitely die under the charge of this group of cavalrymen. Forget about him being a war master who had just broken through LV30. Even if he was a LV90 sacred domain expert, he might not be able to fight against hundreds of iron cavalry head-on. After all, there was a limit to one's strength, and the destructive power of the cavalry's charge was endless. Fortunately, the fallen star steps were fast, and after a few leaps, he had already left the attack range of the charging formation. Don't let him escape. Catch him and kill him. Avenge the city lord and the young city lord. A group of armored horsemen roared. Lin Muyu ran like a madman. Blood was flowing out of his wounds, making him somewhat weak. He wanted to retrieve Xiang Xiang's body. He didn't want to let Xiang Xiang's body suffer any more humiliation, but it was already too late. As long as he turned back, he would definitely die. His back suddenly trembled, and he felt a burning pain. The arrow from the cavalry archer had pierced through his green rock armor's innate chi. entering about a few centimeters into his flesh. Although it wasn't heavy, it was like adding insult to injury. I can't stop, I have to continue running. Sister Chu Yao is still waiting for me. The rain blurred his vision, but he still did not stop. He jumped into the bushes. The thorns on his body were extremely painful, but when he thought of Xiang Xiang's tragic death, he felt as if 10,000 arrows had pierced through his heart, so this little bit of pain was nothing. I killed her. He secretly blamed himself. He shouldn't have said to Xiang Xiang that dignity is worth fighting for with one's life. He couldn't save her, and instead caused her to die. What did he count as? His physical strength continued to deplete, and the self-blame in his heart pushed him closer and closer to his limit. However, every time he was about to fall, he would think of Chu Yao. If he died, what would Chu Yao do? How would she face everything that would happen in the future? Therefore, he couldn't fall. Perhaps it was this belief that saved him. After running madly for almost 20 minutes, his body was covered in wounds. When he looked back, he discovered that the pursuit had stopped. This was a mountain road that was at least several kilometers long, and it was not suitable for cavalry at all. If the cavalry of the Kathaya prefectural army dismounted and gave chase, their walking speed would obviously be far slower than Lin Muyu's fallen star steps. Chu Yao's voice rang in his blurry vision. Lin Muyu's knees buckled and he fell to the ground. He immediately fell into Chu Yao's arms and leaned against her shoulder. A familiar fragrance entered his nose, and he couldn't help but blame himself. I'm sorry, Sister Chu Yao, it's all my fault. It's this god of medicine tome that caused Grandpa's tragic death. It's all my fault. Your wounds are too heavy, don't speak. Chu Yao looked at the spear wound on his arm, and the arrow in his back. Her tears fell together with the rainwater. At night, the crackling firewood lit up the small cave. This was a wild bear's cave, but the owner was already lying in a pool of blood at the side. In order to kill this wild bear, Chu Yao had added a new wound on her shoulder, but it clearly wasn't as heavy as the person lying on the hay. Lin Muyu slowly woke up, and the first thing he saw was Chu Yao's side profile. He looked up and saw that the wound on his arm had been bandaged. He could feel a faint pain on his back, but it clearly wasn't as painful as before. You're awake. Chu Yao turned to look at him with a warm smile on her face. Then, she fiddled with the pot on the bonfire. Rather than saying it was a pot, it was better to say that it was chiseled out of a stone. In order to make this pot, Chu Yao had used a pair of daggers to chisel away a pile of stones. The pot was boiling soup, and the material was wild bear meat. In order to help Lin Muyu recover quickly, Chu Yao had dug out the bear's heart and boiled it into soup. You must be hungry. Wait a moment, the meat soup will be ready soon. Chu Yao said softly, like a caring sister. Lin Muyu saw the wound on Chu Yao's shoulder at a glance. I'm sorry. Fool, why are you saying sorry? It's nothing, thank you. There's no need to be so polite with senior sister. Chu Yao smiled, but the smile on her face gradually disappeared. She pursed her lips and said, It's all because I'm too useless. I couldn't help you at all, and instead became you's burden. Grandpa and my fellow disciples are all dead, and even that Xiang Xiang is dead. Lin Muyu struggled to sit up and held her shoulder. She smiled. Sister Chu Yao, don't blame yourself. I've already avenged them. Ah. Chu Yao was stunned. Lin Muyu looked at the dancing flames and smiled slightly. I've killed Hua Wan and Hua Tian. They were the main culprits, so I've avenged Grandpa and my fellow disciples. Chu Yao looked at him in disbelief. You're not joking with senior sister, are you? Hua Tian he's an expert close to the battle sage realm, the strongest person in Silver Fir City. How could you have possibly killed him? Because of them. Lin Muyu caressed the 4 flying daggers beside her. The demon noise daggers are Teacher Chu Chu's ultimate technique. Without them, I'm afraid I would have died to Hua Tian's spear already. Chu Yao sighed quietly. Yes, it's good that we were able to take revenge, but I'm afraid we'll have to roam the world in the future. Hua Tian is the city lord of Silver Fir City. Although the city isn't big, Hua Tian is a true minister of the empire. Now that he's dead, the empire will definitely send many troops to hunt us down. Don't worry, I'll protect you. Lin Muyu smiled stubbornly. but it touched her wounds and she couldn't help but groan. Chu Yao couldn't help but smile. You're just too stubborn. Lie down and rest well. I'll take care of you until your wounds are completely healed. Amen. After lying down, Lin Muyu silently adjusted her true energy and cleared the blocked meridians caused by her wounds. Otherwise, she would definitely be crippled. This took quite a while, but not long after, Chu Yao had already filled a stone bowl with steaming meat soup and placed it in front of him. Although he didn't know what time it was, it had been a long time since he'd eaten, and he was indeed hungry. He immediately swallowed the soup in big mouthfuls, causing Chu Yao to giggle. Slow down, don't burn yourself. After eating, Lin Muyu continued to adjust her breathing and heal her wounds. She knew that countless dangers were rapidly approaching, and she had to recover her combat strength as soon as possible. Otherwise, Chu Yao definitely wouldn't be able to deal with them by herself. Big sis Chu Yao, what do you plan to do next? Let's survive first. Chu Yao said quietly. I've seen the map of Kathaya City and its surroundings. We'll travel along the edge of the Seven Stars Forest and avoid our pursuers. If we head north, we'll reach the imperial capital Lanyan City in about half a month's time. We'll see what we can do when we get there. My brother Chu Huayin has been away from home for many years, and I heard that he once appeared in Lanyan City. In any case, let's survive first. Amen. When Chu Yao mentioned Lanyan City, Lin Muyu couldn't help but think of a beautiful figure. Tang Xiaoxi should be in Lanyan City, right? Perhaps I should go look for her? No, that doesn't seem appropriate. I've killed an important official of the empire. If Tang Xiaoxi covers up for me, I'll definitely get into trouble. Moreover, given our friendship, it doesn't seem likely that she'll help me, does it? That night, Lin Muyu had been recuperating nonstop. At the same time, he used first-grade healing medicine to treat his wounds. The arrow wound on his back soon started to feel numb and itchy, and it was starting to form scabs. The injury on his arm was slightly more serious, and he still needed some time to recuperate completely. However, this did not affect his continuous improvement in strength. At dawn, Five Valleys City, the governor's manor of Tsangnan Province. The governor of the province, Hu Tianning, sat under a lantern with a solemn expression on his face. He slowly unfurled the letter and couldn't help but frown. He said indifferently, Silver Fir City's enforcer Hua Tian was killed by a nameless junior called Lin Muyu? How could something like this happen? The general on guard at the side cupped his fists and said, My lord, this is an emergency. What should we do? A murderous glint flashed through Hu Tianning's eyes. Silver Fir City is a subordinate city of Tsangnan Province. I've been the governor of this province for more than 11 years, and such a major incident has never happened. This matter must be resolved with lightning speed. The assassination of an important official of the empire is an unpardonable crime. Immediately pass down the order, and have Commander Wang of the cavalry lead 3,000 soldiers of the Flying Mount Camp to Silver Fir City. We must capture Lin Muyu, alive or dead. Yes, my lord. The general narrowed his eyes and said, It is said that Lin Muyu has fled into the Seven-Star Forest. Our army may not be able to arrive in time. Should we send a letter to Silver Fir City and offer a bounty for wandering mercenaries to help us take care of these two felons, Lin Muyu and Chu Yao? Hu Tianning's voice was very soft. Do as I say. Offer a bounty of 100,000 Jin-in coins for Lin Muyu's head. Yes. Chapter 34. The heavy rain continued for 3 days and 3 nights before it finally cleared up. Deep in the mountains of the Seven Stars Forest, a man and a woman slowly walked forward. It was Lin Muyu and Chu Yao. Lin Muyu's injuries had basically healed, but she couldn't use too much strength or else her wounds would burst open. She carried a slightly large bag on her back and laughed as she walked. It's so heavy. Sister Chu Yao, what did you buy? Chu Yao stuck out her tongue and laughed. I can only go to the nearby villages to buy supplies when it's dark, so I didn't buy anything good. A pot, 2 bowls, some oil and salt, and a simple tent. It's not big, and I also bought you a cloak. It's almost autumn, and the nights in the Seven Stars Forest will be very cold. Lin Muyu nodded and said, "This is enough. Did you see the bounty notice for us?" "Yes." Chu Yao nodded heavily and laughed. 100,000 gold coins. I didn't think that our lives would be so valuable. I heard that many hunters are thinking of hunting us. Fortunately, the portraits on the notice don't look like them, and I have short hair now, otherwise I would definitely be recognized. Oh right, I also heard from the hunters that many wandering mercenaries have entered the Seven Stars forest to hunt us down. Even the legendary 7 martial saints have agreed to join the hunt. This time, whether or not we can reach the capital is a problem. 7 martial saints? What are they? They are the best of the wandering mercenaries. The 7 martial saints are the names given to them by the mercenaries. These 7 are all experts in the 7 Stars forest, and even the weakest one is much stronger than Hawkeye. So that's how it is. Lin Muyu silently clenched her fist and smiled. If they really dare to kill us for money, then don't blame me for being ruthless. Chu Yao had experienced so much and was already used to a life of killing. She nodded and said, "In." When it was close to noon, the two of them had climbed over 3 mountains. It seemed that they were getting closer and closer to the depths of the 7 Stars forest. This was not a good thing. If they went too deep, they would easily encounter spirit beasts that were thousands of years old. That was not something that Lin Muyu could handle. Along the way, Lin Muyu kept plucking leaves from the forest and sniffing them. Then she frowned and said nothing. What are you looking for?" Chu Yao couldn't help but ask. "A firefox. A 600-year-old firefox is following us." "Huh?" Chu Yao gaped in shock. Lin Muyu explained with a smile. "The leaves I plucked belong to a type of tree called palm tree. This is the favorite food of the firefox. The older the palm tree, the more the firefox likes it. Furthermore, the closer the firefox gets, the more the palm tree's leaves emit a refreshing fragrance. Logically speaking, this firefox should be less than a kilometer away from us. No wonder there's a fragrance around us. Yes, we've probably entered the firefox's territory, so it wants to hunt us down. Perfect timing, we'll hunt it down instead. The beast spirit of a firefox is quite compatible with your purple marten martial soul. If you refine its beast spirit, Sister Chu Yao's cultivation will soar." "But..." Chu Yao blinked. "The masters of Silver Fir City's sacred hall once said that we can't absorb beast spirits too frequently, or our martial soul and body won't be able to handle it." "Don't worry," Lin Muyu smiled. "Trust me, Sister Chu Yao, there's still a lot of room for improvement." Alright then." At noon, they had lunch under a boulder. Their food consisted of 2 pieces of roast beef and some water from a gourd. However, this was already a pretty good life for Lin Muyu and Chu Yao. They'd traveled through the torrential rain a few days ago, and they'd only had 1 meal a day, and it was an extremely dry and cold steamed bun at that. Lin Muyu's gaze fell in another direction as she chewed on the beef. "Sister Chu Yao, be careful. That firefox has appeared. It can attack us at any time, and it'll definitely be a sneak attack." Chu Yao nodded lightly, a silver needle appearing in her hand. The silver needles she threw were quite lethal within 20 meters, but any further and they wouldn't have enough power. Kiki. All of a sudden, a ball of fire appeared in the distance. It was a fox wrapped in flames. The 600-year-old firefox let out a loud cry from the underbrush. It stirred up the raging flames, and with a hua sound, a large ball of raging flames shot out. Lin Muyu's eyes and hands were quick. She leaped down from the boulder, and her green gourd martial soul emerged from her body. With a wung sound, the black tortoise shell was successfully activated, and the flames that the firefox shot out were completely dissolved. At the same time, she raised her hand and threw the demonic noise blade towards the firefox's head. After all, this little guy had cultivated for several hundred years, and had already gained intelligence. It very cleverly scuttled into the underbrush to avoid the demonic noise blade's attack. However, this move was already within Lin Muyu's expectations. Suddenly, there was a hua-la sound, and many green vines filled with thorns extended from the ground. This was the effect of the thorns, the entanglement skill. In the blink of an eye, the firefox was tightly bound. Kiki! Its cries grew louder, and the flames continued to burn the gourd vines. Chu Yao hastily said, You be careful of its flame attack. It won't. Lin Wuyu punched through the air, and with a pung sound the air surged. The spinning demonic noise blade quickly changed direction, and cut through the firefox's back. Immediately blood splattered, and the firefox howled miserably. Shoot its eyes with the silver needles, Lin Wuyu shouted. Chu Yao hastily raised her hand, and the silver needles flew out. In the next moment, the firefox cried out miserably, and Lin Wuyu leaped over with her steel sword in hand. She raised her speed to the limit with the falling star steps, and lightning flickered on the blade of her sword. With a kacha sound, the firefox's head was immediately sent flying. At the same time, a wave of raging flames spread out in the surroundings. Fortunately, she had activated the black tortoise shell in time. Otherwise, she would have definitely been burned. Lin Wuyu stood at the same place, and looked at the surrounding grassland that had been burnt black. She couldn't help but be speechless. As expected, a 600-year-old wild beast couldn't be underestimated. Otherwise, she would have fallen into its hands. Sister Chu Yao, hurry up and refine the wild beast's soul. Chu Yao quickly sat down beside the firefox's corpse, and released her martial soul, the sable. The sable quickly and greedily absorbed the firefox's spiritual energy, and Lin Wuyu acted as if she was protecting it from the side. In fact, her true intention was to summon the female elf official, Lulu, and then summon the treasured cultivation cauldron to assist Chu Yao in absorbing the spiritual energy. With Chu Yao's cultivation, it was impossible for her to completely absorb the firefox's spiritual energy. However, the treasured cultivation cauldron was like a huge vessel, and it first helped her refine the spiritual energy, and left the essence for her. At the same time, it protected Chu Yao's martial soul from being devoured by the wild beast's soul. Chu Yao, who was in the middle of cultivating, trembled slightly. This was a huge challenge for her. Moreover, she could feel a tyrannical power helping her, and she could guess who it was. Lin Wuyu closed her eyes, and controlled her own power to search the firefox's wild beast's soul. Suddenly, a scorching power began to wreak havoc. That's it. Using the power of her EC, she quickly grabbed onto this power. This was the firefox's soul essence, and it wanted to escape from the treasured cultivation cauldron's shackles? It was simply a dream. Lin Wuyu's refining power was like a huge hand that firmly grabbed onto the firefox's soul essence, and then provided this precious soul essence to Chu Yao, so that she could slowly refine it. About 2 hours of cultivation finally came to an end. The moment Chu Yao opened her eyes, she was already wild with joy. I've successfully refined the firefox's beast soul. Heavens, the sable actually comprehended another skill. Flame impact. Lin Wuyu secretly laughed. It seemed like Tang Xiaoxi's firefox martial soul also knew this skill. Congratulations, big sister Chu Yao. What level of strength have you reached now? Chu Yao opened her palm, allowing the innate qi to flow, and said, I'm at least at the strength of a level 27 war spirit. Maybe I'll be able to step into the first level of the Earth realm soon. Alright. Lin Wuyu nodded and smiled. You still need to practice the needle throwing technique more. It's best if you can accurately shoot and kill targets within 50 meters. This way we'll be able to fight more smoothly. Let's go, we can't stay here for too long. As for Lin Wuyu himself, because he lacked a measuring instrument, he did not know what level of war master he was now. However, in these 3 days, he had killed a few spirit beasts and absorbed a lot of beast spirits. His strength had increased by a lot, so he should at least be above level 36, right? Furthermore, it was extremely beneficial to the improvement of his strength. The two of them walked slowly in the mountains, not knowing that danger was approaching from afar. 2 hours later, in the depths of the Seven Stars Forest. In the desolate woodland, a martial warrior in his 40s walked over with a long blade in his hand. His face was full of beard, and his eyes shone brightly. His gaze landed on a pile of ashes not far away, and he quickly ran over. Looking at the corpse of the firefox on the ground, he lowered his body and sniffed it. A smile appeared on his face. It's been less than 6 hours since its death. Looking at this wound, it looks like a sword wound. Lin Wuyu, I Guanyang have finally found you. With that, he shot into the distance, the long blade in his hand whistling. Imperial Capital, Rain Listening Tower. This was a pavilion located between the Green Mountains and the lake. It was also the most elegant place in the entire Imperial Capital, but it was definitely not a place that ordinary people could come to. Those who were qualified to come here were either rich or noble. On top of the pavilion stood a beautiful young lady dressed in a fiery red dress. She looked at the clear water in the pond quietly. Suddenly, she waved her red sleeves and frowned slightly. Still no news of Lin Muyu? A man dressed in a general's armor knelt down on one knee and said respectfully, "Not yet, Princess Shi. It is said that the 7 martial saints of the wandering mercenaries have already been dispatched to hunt down that lad called Lin Muyu." Tang Xiaoxi bit her red lips. "How many cavalrymen did grandfather send to protect me this time?" 800, Princess. Send all of them out to search for Lin Muyu, even if they have to search through the entire 7 Stars forest. But in that case, there will be no one left to protect the princess. Tang Xiaoxi suddenly punched down, and her Firefox martial soul surged, smashing a section of the railing into pieces. Her pretty face was filled with anger. "Send all of them out. Do you want me to repeat myself? Do you want me to ask Her Highness Yin to give you an order personally before you are willing to go?" "Yes, Princess, I will go immediately." Tang Xiaoxi stood alone on the long corridor, looking into the distance towards the south. Suddenly, her body trembled slightly and she said, "Chu, how good would it be if you were here? Do you know that the disciple you are most proud of is in trouble?" You're tuning in to the Li Mei Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.